Lead attorney here. Hope you guys are doing well. I have a show for you. We're going old school, guys. We're going old school. I know I got a lot of new subscribers over here. You guys might not know, but I'm actually a real attorney, right? And back in the day with this channel, people would come to these live streams and call in, and if they had any questions, especially questions about family law, divorce, marriage, relationships, custody. Child custody is huge. Alimony, child support. Call in and you get to talk to a lawyer for free. Now, listen, none of this is legal advice. All right, let me start from there. This is just legal information. But a lot of times it can cost you $300, $400, $500 just to sit down for an hour with an attorney. And I understand it because we got expenses in the office. We got to pay paralegals. We got to pay the rent. We got staff, and so it's expensive to run a law firm. But here on YouTube, it's all free. So if you want to jump in and ask your questions or give your comments, give your perspective to other members, then that would be great. Now, what do we got today? We're talking about custody, guys, for fathers. Right. Most of the times when a man has a child with a woman, whether it's in or out of wedlock, a lot of times, the vast majority of times, in fact, let's just be honest, guys get stuck with this visitation, right? Every other weekend from Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6, maybe a little dinner on Wednesday or an overnight, right? When, if they were in a relationship, they were used to seeing their kids every single day. So we're going to talk to a man. He's a YouTuber here. His name is Bernard Riley. He has a great YouTube channel. I put it down in the chat. Please go and check it out. I'm going to bring him up in a second, and we are going to talk about his journey through the legal system. There's so many things that you guys don't know. There's so many things that you guys don't know about fighting for custody, right? And I know we've been talking about this Charlemagne thing and the Breakfast Club and DJ Envy or whatever, and there's a place for that. Just like the Steel Curtain let me know. He said, hey, listen, even though this stuff is celebrity stuff, there are still important things in it, and that's true, guys. Just yesterday, I talked to Jessica Reed on the phone. So shout out to Jessica Reed, and she has started a GoFundMe. I've made a contribution to that. So you guys are absolutely welcome to make a contribution to that. And I never would have gotten to talk to her. I never would have even known about this situation had it not been for this celebrity status. So, we can talk about the celebrity stuff, but I also want to talk about real people going through the court system, right? Because that's my value. That's what I can add to this YouTube thing. I've been an attorney for about 20 years, guys. So here is the format. I'm gonna bring Bernard up. I'm gonna set the stage. I'm gonna bring Bernard up. We're gonna talk about his experience, and then I'm gonna start having people call in, right? So I want to get his story out first. So maybe I put the link in the chat a little bit too early. I anticipate we're gonna go at least 30, 45 minutes. Could be longer, could be shorter before we start bringing up. But if you have questions for me or if you have questions for him, please ask them, and we're absolutely going to address them. So that's how this is going to work. Give me 1 second. Let me shout out King of Spades. King of Spades in the house. Thank you so much, King of Spades. What does King of Spades say? At the gym, my guy. May have to watch later. Listen, man, King of Spades been supporting me ever since I had about 30 subscribers. So thank you so much, King of Spades. And we got E-Rob in the house, becoming a new member. Thank you so much, E-Rob. I really appreciate it. So I see Patrice in the back. Or I definitely want to talk to Patrice and bring her up. But again, I want to get all of Bernard's story out first. And if you have questions while we're going through it, if you have questions for me or if you have questions for Bernard as a father, please ask those, and we will address those. Guys, we can talk about the gossip and all that. That's cool. But really, this channel, I wanted to entertain you, but I also wanted to inform you as well. All right. So here is one thing that I want to set the stage with. OK, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about. Let us take a look at what we have here. If I can do this. I don't know if you guys can see this. You guys can see this. Give me 1 second here. Let me take this off. Create a little bit more room. All right. What do we have here? Maybe some of you guys have seen this, right? This tweet is going around. And what does it say? What does it say? It says this is by a woman, Keisha BG, Bratz 2020 ATL. ATL, she's down here with me. She's down here with me, guys. And what does she say? She says, if we're not married, it's my child, my capitalization. It's my child. And I don't have to give my child that I carried for 9 months the last name of a man who ain't my husband. He's just the father and there's no long ties to him. Even if we're married, I don't need to give my kids my husband's last name. It is 2021. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? The fact that she says, he's just the father. And what you guys will see is that this is actually, this might seem a little bit surprising, or it might seem a little bit drastic, but there is a lot of sentiment in this. The same sentiment that is in this tweet is also reflected many times, guys, in the judicial system. And so we are going to talk about all of this. Now we got Bernard Riley in the house. How you doing, Bernard? Good afternoon.
Man, thanks for having me. Man. I appreciate it. A lot.
No problem. And again, guys, Bernard has a YouTube channel. Y'all go subscribe to that. Great channel. He comes on every morning and has these long shows, these long talk shows, super informative, super entertaining as well. He has a lot of heavy hitters on there. A lot of heavy hitters. What is let me get this one right quick. Samuel, shout out to Samuel. What does Samuel say? Love the show. I live in Blairsville, a couple of hours north of Atlanta. Okay, that's up there in where's that, near Gainesville and all that, right? Give me 1 second. Let me change my sound because I hear you coming from the speakers, Bernard.
You hear me?
No, you were fine. It was me.
Okay.
It was me. I just fixed it. So you were fine.
Yes, because I got a speaker right here that sometimes it throws things off. Let me know if I need to put earbuds in, but I think we should be good.
No, you're totally good. And in fact, I might need to talk to you about how is it that you don't wear speakers and I do. I don't know how you don't have a reverb in like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I know you guys didn't show up to watch two YouTubers talk about the trade. All right. So again, everybody go check out Bernard. Definitely want to shout that out. I've been following Bernard's channel for a while, and he has some heavy hitters on there. Great channel. All right. Bernard, all right, let's talk a little bit about your situation. Now, I understand you have some children. Is that right?
Yes, I have two children, 2 boys.
2 boys. Okay, fantastic. And were you in a relationship with the mother of your 2 children?
Man, I feel like I'm being interrogated.
It's like a cross-examination.
You asked me, quit talking to me like a lawyer, man. Isn't it true that you had 2 children?
That's exactly right. I'm sorry, guys. I got to slip out of my attorney mode.
You got my palms sweating. I'm feeling uncomfortable, man. But no, yes, I had 2 children. I have 2 children. See, I'm always you got me nervous. But no, 2 children. I was married, so all the children born into the marriage. So that's a factor in the equation when you're talking about this whole custody thing. So,
okay, why don't you start off? Tell us about just your marriage quickly, and then I suppose at some point things started to go downhill and there was a divorce or something. Why don't you give us some background on how this all started?
Yeah, so I did the 1950 thing. I married my first. The first woman I fell in love with. The first woman I all of that, so I did that, bought a house, got married at 19,
Wow. We got a young one here. He's called the Young Prince. He's a subscriber. He's kind of our youngest one. He's the one we're all rooting for. He's 25 years old and he has his own car and his own house. But shoot, you got him beat, man. At 19, got married, got the house and the kids. That's awesome. You don't really see that anymore these days.
Yep. Yeah, I did it the old school, old fashioned, traditional way, and was married 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah, the details of the marriage and how it ended. I don't want to get too much into that, but the thing that's important for this conversation is when things got to the point, it got rocky. And we quote the stats all the time, men with our YouTube channels or the space, known as the manosphere. We point out all the time that women file for 80% of the divorces, which is true.
Yes.
But the unique thing that happened in my case, I was actually the one leaving her. I was leaving her, but she strategically beat me down there and she filed. So she was the plaintiff, I was the defendant. So that, and I could be wrong, and you probably could tell me better, but it seemed as if it helped her arguments against me because she was the plaintiff, she was the one that filed, she was the one who was divorcing this monster,
Right.
That's what it seemed like. And that kept her lawyer kept strategically bringing up that, and she left him because of AB. I'm like, no, I left her because of this reason, that reason. So that was one factor in the equation, that yes, she did strategically file, but I was the one that was leaving.
Okay, and let me jump in there. You're bringing up some great points, and I really want to talk to you guys about this. First, let me get the super chats. I don't want them to disappear on me. The nurse and the nerd, man, shout out to the nurse and the nerd. First of all, thank you for your super chat. Second of all, she had the whole chat. She had the whole chat room enthralled the day before yesterday. She was cooking, and she had her camera on, and she was just, I mean, she wasn't even talking. I mean, she was just in the back, but everybody was watching her cook. She had us all hungry. So shout out to the nerds and the nerd. Really appreciate that. Who else we got here? We got the beautiful Raven Von Cuervo. What did she say? Hope you are having a fantastic day. You too, Raven. Hope you're having a great afternoon. And thank you so much, Raven. Thank you. Oh, we got your girl. She's double teaming us.
Don't call her my girl.
We got your girl, Bernard. We got your girl. Who do we got? We got Snuggles.
Shout out to Snuggles. Shout out to Snuggles. I said she's turning into like the Manosphere mascot at this point.
Yeah, she started off with you first, though. She gonna give me a piece, but she started off with you first. What did she say? She says, I sent something into miss going on here. What did I run into? Looky here. Guess what I see? And I'm going to write a bunch of run-on citizens. Yeah, she's good with these run-on citizens and messages, isn't she? Thank you so much. Oh, we got Yo-Yo in the house. Shout out to Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo, thank you. Thank you, Yo, for becoming a member. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, Snuggles again. She want another piece of you. What did she say? Ask him who his favorite moderator is and ask him, does he prefer the puppy pound or the bear? We are waiting for the answer. Yeah, I saw that bear is kind of creeping out the cut, right?
Yeah.
Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the bear or the puppy pound?
I'll give Snuggles what she wants to hear. Snuggles is my favorite moderator, and I prefer the bear. That's sort of an inside joke because she sends me a lot of $5 super chats. I call her the $5 super chat champion of the world. But Black Wolf Inc., she calls him the puppy. He used to be the $5 super chat king. She kind of took his crown, so they got like a little rival, a little beef going on. But I'll give her props today. She's the queen moderator over there. I'll give it to her.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay, what did we just hear Bernard say? Bernard said, listen, most of the times women file for divorce is 70 to 80% of the time. And Bernard is absolutely right. And why is this? Guys, you would think, and again, I've been practicing law for 20 years, so I've seen a lot. You would think, guys, that women from this stat that, they're just pulling the trigger right away, right? When in actuality, a lot of times guys will put up with a mediocre situation for a long time. And I've seen it. I've actually seen couples that have, lived in separate bedrooms. They live in the same house, but they stay in separate bedrooms, or they sleep in 7 bedrooms for 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, right? And there are multiple reasons for that, but it does seem to me that guys are willing to tolerate a situation much longer than a woman. And women are much more prone to say, hey, I need to be happy. We only go around one time, and I don't want to live this mediocre relationship. There could be a Cam Newton out there waiting on me, and I'm up here with you sleeping in separate bedrooms, right? So it will absolutely be the case that many times a guy will stay in a situation that is mediocre at best, that's average at best. And and I want to encourage you men not to do that. I can tell you again from so much experience that if you get divorced, and getting divorced is rough sometimes, guys, especially financially, especially with your kids. And you might even go through what they call, in the manosphere, this red pill rage period, where, you're salty at all women because you just didn't understand the situation. And now going through this divorce, you see the whole thing. But what I can tell you is that coming out of that phase, and it's just a phase, there's so many times where you can actually meet women who are more compatible with you than your wife, than your ex-wife, women who will actually make you happier. You're older now, you're more experienced. Usually, because you're older, you might have more financial stability. So the woman that you got 9 years ago, you can actually get a better woman now that you're out of this relationship. So I want to encourage men not to, and you hear this with women all the time. What do women say? Women say, oh, we don't want to settle. And I don't know if guys criticize women for that or not, but what I say is that men need to kind of take on that same persona, especially with relationships. We don't have to settle for mediocrity in our relationships, especially our marriages. But there is one thing that holds us back, and there are two things. Usually it's either finances, but it's also the kids, because you're not going to get a fair shake. You're right. You're not going to get a fair shake. And so this is kind of what we're going to talk about today. Now, women, like you said, they will plan it out. They will strategize. And I encourage everyone to do that. Get your finances in order. Divorces can be extremely expensive, right? And you don't want to run into a situation where you're paying an attorney for the divorce, and then you look up mid-divorce and you can't pay, because that's going to be a whole entire issue, right? So definitely want to talk about that. Got Raven again. What does Raven say? I'm Kevin Samuels, $2 to $5 Jack Wade. Okay. Man, and Kevin Samuels, he doesn't even read the chats. He doesn't even read the super chats, does he? He's just like, thank you for thank you for the super chats, Raven. That's what he says. He's like, I'm not even gonna read them. All right. So you were saying that you were thinking about leaving, but she kind of beat you to the punch, right?
Well, no, I was leaving. That much was true. But when she realized that I was gone and I was leaving, and that was that, she went down there and filed. She wanted me to stay all the way up until the point, and maybe sometime after. She still wanted to stay together. I was done. So that much I'll definitely own. I was the one that left, but she was the one who filed. That was just a small distinction there. But I was.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you actually left the residence. You left.
And yep, and that was a mistake too. That was a mistake, leaving the marital home before we had our first day in court. Just to throw that out there. I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad. And see, this is the value that you're going to get on this stream. You're going to get the little tips that you will not know until you actually go through the process. But now, me and Bernard are giving you this information beforehand so that you can be aware. All right, so then you left, and then she filed, and then what happened?
Well, we had our first meeting with, I believe it was called the arbitrator. I think they call it a different thing in different states. But it was called an arbitrator. Okay,
let me stop you right there. Did you guys have attorneys at the time?
No. At that point in the game, neither of us had attorneys.
Perfect. Okay, so you had the divorce filed, and then I guess you filed some type of answer. Then they set up a date with some type of arbitrator. Is that right?
Yes. So we just basically had to go there, sit down, and she asked us a lot of questions. And one thing that came up was the parenting schedule. And here I am, naive as ever. You know, after I left her, I bought a house 3 minutes away from her, thinking, okay, let's make them. It's going to make the co-parenting process easy. All the kids were born into the marriage, so I'm just naive as ever, just thinking, oh, it's just going to be an easy open shut case. All the kids born into the marriage, they live 3 minutes away from each other. It's just going to be an automatic 50-50 right down the middle, 1 week on, 1 week off. Nothing to debate, nothing to argue. But when I got there in front of the arbitrator, that's when I was first initially told that it will be an every other weekend schedule. Now, the tricky part about that is this. When I left her, the kids were with me the majority of the time. I was working a third shift job. I was working 7 days a week because I was paying bills in 2 different places.
Yes.
Without a court ordering me to do it, because it was the right thing to do, because she wasn't working the last 3 years of the marriage, so I just couldn't leave her just out in the cold like that. So the whole time that I was at work, my whole thing was, I'm going to work third shift 7 days a week, and I kept the kids all day. Basically the entire 16 hours that I wasn't at work, the kids were with me, and she basically just babysat them for me at night while they were asleep. So that was pretty much what was going on for the majority of that separation leading up to our first time we had to go to the courthouse and talk to the arbitrator. It was there that I found out that, well, the kids live with her on paper. I left the marital home on paper. The kids are with her. I'm like, no, they've been with me the majority of the time. Didn't matter. On paper, on paper, they were with her. So on paper, I got every other weekend, Wednesday from 5 to 8, and child support.
And child support on top of that. Give me 1 second here. Let me get Greg O. Greg O says, facts, the lead attorney. I developed an allergy to the BS and met some young, high-value women after I left my baby's mama. That's true. Guys, we don't need to settle either, right? I'm not saying that women should settle. I'm just saying that we shouldn't settle either. Now, Jan G asked a question, and this is an important question, and I want to pull it up. She says, why leave the mother of your young kids? All right, and this is what I want to say to this, because this has an implication, and I'm not sure if she meant it this way or not, but this implies that if you are a man and you have young kids, then there should be something to force you to stay with the mother, right? And I want to push back against that assumption very strongly, guys. The court system should be fair. You should not have to be trapped to a woman just to see your kids. Some women are angels, most are not. Most women are not angels. Most men are not angels. Right. And so if you have kids and they're half yours biologically, half their DNA is yours, half their chromosomes are yours, you should be able to see them half the times without being shackled to a woman who is not an angel. And so when I see comments like this, why leave the mother of your young kids? Maybe she's not a good person. Maybe she's a good mom. Fine. But she's not compatible. This is what we're talking about settling here, because some women, let's be honest, some men are bad boyfriends and some women are bad girlfriends. Some women are bad wives. I've represented them, guys. Like, you can't tell me what bad wives don't exist, because I've represented them. And so when you get this question, why leave your wife when she has these young kids? You don't know the quality of the wife, right? And let's even take a step back further, guys. I got some bad news for you. Right? The majority of marriages are either not going to work out or they're not going to be happy in the first place. All right. So, I mean, half the weddings are going to end in divorces in the first place. And then the marriages that stay together, some of those are going to be unhappy. So this question kind of implies, well, why are you leaving the mother of your young kids? They're so, they're such a tender age. No, it's not focused on the kids. Like, the problem is with the mother. So guys, do not feel the need to stay with a woman who is not going to make you happy just for your kids. So I definitely want to. Yes, please jump in.
Add to that real quick. Like I said, it was a 13-year marriage. that was
Yeah.
probably over at the 7.5, 8 year mark. It was 5 years of just trying all I could, trying as hard as I can to try to make it work. But then at some point, enough is enough. Secondly, is I don't want to assume what's in her heart or mind when she makes that comment, but if a man says when he left his wife, he paid bills at 2 different houses and
Mm.
had the kids the majority of the time,
Mm.
clearly you're talking to a man who didn't just up and leave on some BS. It was a
Yes.
well thought out, well planned out situation where I kept what was best for the kids in mind. That's the reason I tried to I already explained it. I don't want to be a broken record, but they were literally with me every minute, every hour, unless I was at work. So
Oh.
that tells you right there where my mind was at. So she didn't even have the kids, and I was still paying bills at that house, giving her time to get on her feet because she hadn't worked in the last 3 years. So that's clearly a situation where the man in that situation wasn't on some BS. So I'm confused as to why she would just leap to. But why leave the mother of your children? I mean, you should be assuming it was a good reason, because if a woman told the
Exactly.
same exact story, you would just be like, "Hey, sister, hey, I understand." You would easily understand that if a woman left in that much grace and that much trying that hard to try to make sure everything was okay, you would clearly understand that this woman left for good reasons on good terms and was probably the good person in the equation. If we're going to say one person's good, one person's bad, this person was more than likely on the on the side of what's right. But
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you added that, because that really underscores. And guys, and this is not a shot at Jan G, because I know Jan J. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. I never know how to pronounce that J-E. I know she's a good person, but
mhm.
this is what we talk about with these assumptions. It's so easy for us to say things, but they reveal assumptions and prejudices and biases that are underlying that fine. We all have. The problem though is that these judges have the same biases. These arbitrators have the same biases.
Mm.
Some of these attorneys have the same biases. And so, guys, you need to know going in that your arbitrator could be thinking the same thing as Jan G. Oh, why are you going to leave this mother here when you've got two young kids of a tender age? Not even knowing that this man left and was paying expenses at both houses. And when he wasn't at work, he had both of the kids the whole time, right? But the details don't matter. It's just these broad assumptions. And guys, this is one of the biggest things that you are going to fight as a man in the system. And it's going to be so hard for you because you're not going to see it. You know, you see Janet G on the street, she looks like a great woman. And what's worse is she is a great woman, but she has biases that are even hidden to her, And these judges and these mediators, these arbitrators and these attorneys have sometimes they can have these same biases. And you're not going to be able to see them. No, you ask Jan is like, no, I don't have any biases. I support men too. But then she asks a question like that, right? And so this is what we really need to fight, and we really need to be on the lookout for. Got Carrie V. Shout out to Carrie V. Carrie B. and Abel says men need to go in with a visitation plan from the beginning. Do not negotiate with Darius, aka Baby Mama. Facts. Got some Mr. Palmer in here. And again, I think Carrie B is exactly right. I'm just being very sensitive here when she says go in with a visitation plan, right? And that's the problem. I mean, that the word visitation. I mean, this is again, and I know Carrie, she's awesome, right? She doesn't mean anything, but I think she means like a parenting plan, right? Go in knowing what you want. But as a man, that's exactly what they try to give you. Visitation, going in with your own kids. Why is it that the mother, when you go in, gets to live with the kids, but you as a man go in with visitation from the beginning? Like, this is what we need to fight against. These kids are half of your kids. They're half of your biological DNA. Why are you only getting visitation? Why is it that you have to fight for 50-50 custody, but the woman doesn't? Why do you never hear a woman having to fight for 50-50 custody? right? These are some of the prejudices and the assumptions and the biases that are in the system that are going to be so hard for you to combat. And I know that Carrie just to say men need to go in with a plan for 50-50, right? Or for plan for custody. But even in the language, men need to go in with a visitation plan. That's exactly what you don't want. You don't want visitation with your own kids normally, right? Now, if you're a pilot, if you're in the military, or if you're a Pookie or something like that, fair enough. There are fathers and mothers who do not want to see their kids. I know this for a fact because I've represented them for 20 years. All right. But I can tell you that more often than not, women want to see their kids. Women want to be in their kids' lives. And more often than not, men want to see their kids and men want to be a part of their lives. And to me, if you're just seeing your kids, and this is not a shot to you men who have this, because a lot of times this is all you could get. But if you are a man and you're only seeing your kids Friday to Sunday from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then a Wednesday dinner at Applebee's, you really don't know them like you should, right? And that's not your fault because that's what you got stuck with because you got stuck with visitation.
Yeah.
So
it's called being Uncle Dad.
I have never heard of that, but I love it. I mean, that's exactly right. And it's so vicious and pernicious because you don't even see it. It's the little stuff. It's the little stuff like Jan G says. It's the little stuff like Carrie says, this visitation. Like it, and it is what it is. It's the reality of it. It's the reality of it. Mm-hmm. Shout out to the Nurse and Nerd. Thank you again, Nurse and Nerd, for all your support and your super chat. Says, dang, Bernard, this is horrible. Hearing this, I would never want to get married. Yes.
She was already married.
I know. I think she.
She's saying if she would have heard it before. Okay, I see.
Yeah, and I can't tell. Maybe that's the. I don't know which one is the nurse and the nerd.
She took the link to my show, and that was the first question I asked her: who's the nurse and who's the nerd? I didn't want to assume, but she's the nurse, and apparently he is the nerd.
Okay, well maybe that's him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one it is. Because there's two of them, right?
You don't know who you're talking to. That is true.
That's exactly right.
True. I never thought about it like that.
That's exactly right. We got another one. Yeah. Beautiful Lies. Thank you so much for being. Hey guys, everybody watching, go over and subscribe to Beautiful Lies. Or someone could drop his YouTube in the chat. This is El Guapo. This was my last interview one-on-one I did with him, and he killed it. He was awesome. And really, and it's so good that he comments right now because we were just talking about not settling for mediocre relationships. This is a man, guys, who was engaged and got married and then got divorced and then got engaged again and married again and then got divorced and now is engaged a third time to a beautiful woman who, just the most feminine woman, and his life is so much better. What if he would have stayed married what if he would have stayed in a bad marriage, his second marriage or his first marriage? You would be miserable. Guys, do not settle for a relationship that's average at best. All right. There's usually almost always there's something better out there for you. So thank you so much, Beautiful Eyes. Y'all go check out his channel. It's awesome. I was actually watching a couple of his videos today, and he's just an awesome guy. So shout out to him. Oh man, gotta break out the red alert. Ike is in the building. Ike is in the building. Yes, Ike is in the building. Thank you so much.
We gotta roll out the red carpet and drop the Coming to America rose petals, sound the trumpets, and release 12 doves when Ike come in the building.
Yes. Ike is in the building. Thank you so much. Ike is the man. Anytime I see him, I'm always commenting on the streams. I'm always wanting to jump in. He's got a new trailer that is awesome. I was hurt. I didn't make it. Bernard, you made the cut. I don't know if you saw the intro. I didn't make the intro, man. I was looking for my face. I didn't make it. That intro was so awesome. It was so dope. I even commented on it. It's amazing. I got an intro. It took me like 10 hours to make, and all it just says the leader 30. It just fades to black. So that's when I was learning how to use Final Cut Pros. It was crazy. Please, guys, go and go to Ike's channel and subscribe immediately. This man is so deep. Really, I think he might be the deepest thinker here on YouTube, especially in our community. There's no one deeper than you're going to find than Ike. and
Absolutely.
he's just amazing. And so he's kind of the king of the intellectuals on YouTube. So please go, and if someone could drop his channel in the chat, that would be very very useful and very helpful. So thank you so much, and thank you, Ike, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. All right. Wow, Ike just comes and blows up the stream. I forgot what we were talking about. Okay, so we were battling assumptions, right? Battling assumptions. So you and your wife, neither one of you are your ex-wife, but at the time, your then wife, neither one of you were married, and you sat down and you had the arbitration. And it seems like from the jump, in terms of the kids, it was kind of all set before you even walked in.
Yeah, pretty much. Even though the kids were with me in reality, because I made the mistake of leaving the marital home, she was able to say he left us, even though they were with me. She was able to say I left them, and I wasn't able to prove otherwise. It was my word against hers. So they did what you could expect them to do, and they gave her everything on paper, exactly how she wanted it. So it was every other weekend, Wednesday from 5 to 8 to me on paper. Now, there was some time after she got it on paper like that she kind of abused it, and I was upset. It was a stretch when I wasn't seeing them that much because she was sticking to the schedule. And then it was like a double-edged thing, or it was a situation where it was good, where she started letting, I hate the language, she started letting me see them beyond, outside of the schedule. And then eventually it just gradually evolved back to what it was, where they were with me the majority of the time. But then I'm like, wait a minute. If you're okay with them being with me the majority of the time, but it's looking this way on paper, that means I'm still paying you child support.
Yes.
So I'm supporting the children because they're with me the majority of the time, but I'm still paying you child support. This isn't right, obviously. So let's go and get this worked out. Let's get a schedule drawn up that more reflects what it is in reality, or let's just go and get it drawn up just right down the middle, 1 week on, 1 week off. Even if we don't stick to it, if you just want something on the books, let's just go put something on the record, but let's make it fair. No. That's when I found out that, like, it's game on right there, because that's when it finally sunk in that, this was exactly how she wanted it. She wanted them with me in reality, but she wanted to maintain all the control and the power on paper so she can continue to get child support. So that was the game that was being played right there. But just speaking to the mistakes that was made, leaving the marital home. The arbitrator told me, and I don't know if this is true, maybe she would have figured out a different way to spin it, but she would, after I made the case, what I thought was a convincing case, letting her know that those kids were with me the majority of the time, pretty much all the time, other than the time I was at work. When I let her know that, there was a moment where it seemed like, where I don't know for sure, but I looked in her eyes and it seemed like she believed me. However, she said, had you not left the marital home, I would be able to do the 1 week on, 1 week off. So just that's at this point in the game, that's the tidbit of advice. Divorce is filed. Don't leave the marital home until it gets to a point where you've had that first meeting in court and decisions are being made about what's going to happen with the kids. Because if both of you are still living in the marital home, how could they can't give you 1 week on, 1 week off if the kids still live with you on paper. Right. I would assume they can't do that. So that's the tidbit of advice right there. Going forward after that, what was my next game plan?
Let me jump into this too.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, you're exactly right. And guys, let me just say this. Because you are on the back foot, you are disadvantaged in every way in a divorce case. And what Bernard is telling you is absolutely true generally. But I will also say this: if you're like Bernard over there, a 6'1", 6'2" black man, and you're married to some woman who's 5'3" and 5'4", and you guys start
Whoa,
arguing.
Have I ever told you my height and my ex-wife's height?
Not your ex-wife, but I think you've mentioned, or people talk about you being tall.
You got both of our heights exactly right. So,
oh, really?
I was like, did I tell him that? Right. We've talked before, but I'm sitting there like, I don't remember telling him.
How does he know? That's exactly right.
You got all that just right.
Yes. Listen, no. I mean, he's exactly right that if you leave the home, you will even be more disadvantaged in terms of your kids. But let me tell you this. If you are a black man, especially, and you tower over your wife, just physically, not in, you're not threatening her or anything like that, and y'all are trying to stay in the same house, but it's not, you see it's not working, it's better for you just to leave. And you need to know when you leave that you might be giving up some custody. But guess what? If she calls the cops on you because she says you did this or you did that, and now you get taken to jail and now you have a temporary restraining order against you, guess what? You're not going to get the kids anyway. You're not going to win custody of the kids anyway, right? You're going to be in jail. You might lose your job, and then how are you going to pay your child support? So you guys have to know this too. There's so many ways that you can fall as a man. There's so many traps and tricks. And if you ever hear your wife say, I'm gonna call the cops, even if you know in her heart that she doesn't mean it, you got to get out of there. Because really, I mean, that's a declaration of war when a woman threatens to call the cops on you. So many guys, and we talk about guys will be lax. And just like guys will stay in a relationship too long, and they'll stay in a marriage too long, they will see red flags. Oh, she ain't gonna call the cops on me. 3 weeks later, you sitting down there and booking, right? Wondering if you're going to make bail before you get fired the next morning. You could lose everything depending on your job. Your kids are going to be the least of your concerns because you're definitely not going to get those when you get arrested for some domestic violence. Even if you get off 7 months later, even if you lawyer up and you beat the charge 9 months later, the damage is done, right? So you guys really need to know this. You really need to know this. Okay, so Bernard is saying, listen, so we went to court automatically off the rip. Bernard had the kids in reality. He went to court without an attorney. She didn't have an attorney, but immediately it was favored in her favor. So they got this visitation order where he was ordered to pay child support, and he was getting this visitation plan, which gave her primary custody of the kids. But right after the paperwork is signed, reality comes back in, and now he's got the kids the majority of the time, right? So was the divorce still happening at that point, or had it ended, or no, where was it at then?
The divorce wasn't final at that point. Divorce was still ongoing, and even in that process, I tried to basically, after 4 months or so of having the kids the majority of the time while paying child support, that's when I started the early phases of collecting evidence. I was wising up a little bit. I started collecting evidence every time that they were with me when they were supposed to be with her. I would take a picture of them with the date camera. That's a little camera app where it's with the month, date, time, year, all that in the lower right hand corner of the screen. So I had photographic evidence that they were at my house overnight. Just take a quick picture of them while they sleep, while they overnight at my house when they're supposed to be overnight at her house. So 4 months later, I showed up at court.
Wait, let me stop you right there. I mean, the stuff that you're saying is just so deep. Number one, first of all, let me answer this right quick from Matt Ricks. He says, does the lead attorney do consults still in real life? Yes, I still do consults, guys. I had to raise the prices a little bit because you guys are, I've gotten a lot of new subscribers, but they're still relatively cheap. And even the 30-minute ones, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, they usually take more than 30 minutes. I've never cut anybody off for a 30-minute one. So I'm sure Gail or somebody will put the link to the chat, the link to the consults about that. And you can see what type of situations I help you out with. But here's another thing. That I wanted to mention too. What Bernard's saying is so important. He's saying, listen, I started gathering my own evidence. A lot of times, and I'm just telling you how we attorneys feel, you guys will come to us and your case isn't that good, right? Your case is already on the back foot and you don't really have anything to show. You'll come in and, empty-handed, and fair enough. You're not supposed to know what to have. But this is why, what Bernard is saying is so important. He took the onus on himself. He took the initiative on himself, and he starts documenting What Bernard, I'm sure, will tell you at some point is that documentation in a court case is extremely important. It's extremely important. So he, even before, hiring an attorney or anything like that, he starts documenting the instances of when he asked the kids himself. This is so important, guys. I didn't want to interrupt you, Bernard, but I really wanted to point that out because that was huge what you said right there.
Right. But the catch is, the first time around, it actually didn't work. At that point in the game, I still didn't have a lawyer, but and I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what motion I filed or what paperwork I filled out to try to get the ball rolling. I forget some of the details. It was a little while ago. But long story short, I was at court. I had the evidence. She showed up with a lawyer that day. that day when we were in court. But I had open shut case evidence. But however, it was argued that I was only keeping the kids during this time, during those 4 months, because he's just trying to avoid child support. He left her and the kids, just left them high and dry. Her little story of how I left them, and I see 285 people in here, people that don't know the backstory. When I left her, I was paying bills at 2 different houses because she wasn't working the last 3 years of the marriage, and I had the kids the majority of the time. It was argued that I just up and left her and the kids high and dry with no income, no nothing, but I was paying more than what a court would ever order a man to pay. I was paying more than that for, far as my income is concerned. A court wouldn't order to pay that much because I made sure my bills were just completely minimal because she had all the marital bills still, so I was paying all the marital bills. But either way, it was argued that the only thing that I was trying to pull off there was essentially trying to dodge child support. They accused me of trying to dodge child support, and so all the evidence that I had, they were trying to ultimately dismiss that as, he just did it for 4 months just because he was just because he doesn't like this idea, this new thing of paying child support. And it kind of got thrown out. Now there were some legal details to it, and that's when I was like, I have to get a lawyer, because the judge, he sounded like he was to some degree understanding what I was doing and what I had there, but she had a lawyer, and her lawyer kind of won in the courtroom on some technicalities. So that's when I said, okay, now I got my evidence. Now I got to go get a lawyer. And because they tried to throw it out after 4 months, say that wasn't long enough of me collecting evidence showing that the kids are with me the majority of the time, I essentially just went in the whole 2 years basically of collecting that same evidence. And so I had the evidence lined up, 2 years of evidence, just taking pictures and everything. And I feel like I'm missing a few important steps there because I went through 2 different lawyers.
Okay, yeah. let's start at the beginning. So
let's back up. Yeah.
Okay, so the case is still ongoing, and you decide that you need to hire an attorney. Is that right?
Yeah.
How did you come to that decision?
After seeing the way her lawyer pulled that rabbit out of the hat trick in that courtroom, I was just like, all right, done. Can't represent myself. There's some people who can pull it off. I apparently can't. I got the floor wiped with me. He wiped the floor with me.
Guys, let me tell you something. A lot of you guys are extremely smart. All right, you really are. You really are. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to an attorney who's been practicing 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, this would be like me, at 230 pounds trying to fight, a guy who's 5'10 and 180, but he was a, Division I college wrestler, or, he's a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like, he's trained. He's trained. We're trained, guys. When you step into the courtroom, you don't even know how to introduce evidence.
Right.
Like, you don't know anything. And so if it's you against your wife and neither one of y'all have representation, then fine, you can say it's fair. It's really not, because the system is geared towards her, but at least as between you two, it's fair. Once she has an attorney, it's a wrap for you if you do not get an attorney. It really is. Now you're going to say, "Oh, I know a guy at the gym, and his wife didn't have fine," but that's him. That ain't you, right?
Yeah.
You will absolutely need an attorney. Now, just quickly, how did you decide on who to hire? A lot of people ask me, lead attorney. How do I know how to find a good attorney? How did you do that?
I don't think I have any good advice on that. My first attorney was a man. My second attorney was a woman. For some reason, I felt like getting a woman would be having a woman represent me would be better. And it did turn out being better, but I was further along in the process to where I made her job easier because I had what amounted to an orgy of evidence piled up at that time. One step in the equation that I missed after they threw it out after that 4-month mark. Then there was another period where we had to meet with the arbitrator.
Wait, let me just back up.
Okay.
Let me just back up.
Okay.
How is it, and just specifically, how did you go about choosing your attorney? How did you find?
Yeah. I just looked up local attorneys and just
was that on
one.
Google?
Do
you remember?
Yeah, Google.
Okay.
I just Googled it. That's why I said I got no good advice. It was a crapshoot for me. I got no good advice on that one. I mean, maybe what he had there, the website, or maybe his maybe everything looked more professional when I looked at his. I don't know. I don't know if I would have been any different if I would have got a different attorney. So I have no advice on how to pick an attorney.
No problem. Let me jump in with this one right here. Shout out. I got co-counsel in the house. Shout out to Stephanie Collins. She is a criminal defense attorney in Texas, I believe. She says, my brother has full custody of my niece. Her mother is ordered to pay support. Wow. Okay. Says she never paid him a dime. He's kind enough to forego it. I'm inclined to think many fathers owed child support. Let it go. And see, this is exactly right. And guys, this is what I'm saying to you. At every step of any type of relationship that you guys have, it seems like we're always settling, right? You guys will stay in mediocre relationships. And that mediocre relationship, guess what it'll turn into? It'll turn into a marriage. Well, guess what? Now the marriage is mediocre, right? And even and you'll just stay in that, right? And it'll be the woman 70% of the time, 80% of the time say, no, I want more. We are just fine with whatever. We're just fine. We're like the go along, get along gang. We're just like, we don't want any smoke. We don't want any problems. We don't want any stress. We're just like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Then if we're lucky, and you have to be, this is really all it is, and shout out to Stephanie's brother. But really, you have to be lucky to get full custody, because if you have full custody, you know what that means? It really doesn't mean anything in terms of you as a man. It speaks to the mother. It speaks to the mother that the mother is so bad that she lost custody. No man wins full custody. No man wins it. Women lose it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Bernard.
No, I was just about to say, before you even said that, I was going to say, I guarantee there's some type of proven dysfunction with the mother. Guarantee. Yes. Absolutely guarantee.
This is exactly right. And so in Stephanie's case, her brother lost her brother's wife or ex-wife, the mother of children lost custody, or fine. However you want to say it, he won custody. But then what? Now she's not paying child support. She's not paying a dime. And what does he say? And this is not a shout to him, because this is not a shot at him, because this is what I see on a daily basis. Guys, we just don't care. We just don't care. It's so funny. You click on, Kevin Samuels, and it's always talking about all women, they're not, they don't hold themselves accountable to anything. They're not accountable to anything. They don't want to take any on any accountability. But then when we as men have the power to make them accountable, we just say, oh, we don't care, right? We don't care. And so this is what I see all the time. And Stephanie is exactly right. Women know, hey, if this guy isn't going to ask for child support, why should I pay it? I mean, the woman isn't dumb. She might not be that smart, but she's not that dumb. She's like, why would I pay you child support if you're not even going to want it and you're not going to do anything to me? You're not forcing me to be accountable. And just there are hundreds of thousands of men, I think, in this country that are the exact same way. So many women. Look at that. And we're going to get to that.
No, I told my ex-wife that, listen, while you got me going through all of this, had I been the one who got full custody on paper and you had every other weekend and Wednesday from 5 to 8, I would not expect any money from you. I would, even if we made the same thing, I wouldn't, even if she made more, I wouldn't expect or want any money from her. Like, the kids, they don't need your money. They need your hugs. They need your motherly, whatever motherly thing that mothers do. That's what they need from you. Give them some hugs and help them with their homework and make them a home cooked meal when you're with them. That was how I was thinking. Men do not go into the whole courthouse just going for blood, just cutthroat, want to drain every penny, every drop of blood out of her. That's just not how men operate when it comes to that. For women, it's blood sport. It's a gladiator pit to them.
Women have it right. Women have it right. Men, I mean, not only are we simps in relationships, we are simps in the courtroom too. Like, the simping never stops. How is it that you have, like, let's say 3 kids and the man says, oh, the woman doesn't have to pay me any child support? What the hell are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And then this is what we don't see, because we're all like, men, I can take care of my kids, and, they don't have to, I got my kids, and all they, like, not a shot at you, but all they need is hugs and stuff like this. And it's just, it's the most blue pill client. And I have to yank my client. I have to yank them out of this blue pill narrative. And guys, let me just say this. Let me say this, and let me explain to you how you should really think about child support. All right. Child support is in, let's use Bernard's situation since he's here. Was the mother at one point ordered to pay you child support?
Never. I was saying, in the event that I did.
Okay. Yeah.
Full custody. She was never ordered to pay me anything. No.
Absolutely. And let's say Bernard got full custody, just like Stephanie's brother, right? And the Bernard's ex was supposed to pay him child support. Check this out, guys. Check this out. This is very important. A lot of you, and this goes for women too, because women get into this too. A lot of you parents who get child support think that that's your money. And it's not your money. It is your children's money, and you are just the administrator of the money. But if it's not your money, what does that mean? It means that you don't have the right to reject it. You don't have the right to reject it. If Snuggle owes Bernard $5, I can't go into Snuggles and say, hey, don't pay him. Don't worry about it. Don't pay him the $5, because that is between Snuggles and Bernard. Similarly, if Bernard's ex owes him child support, it's for his kids. Bernard does not have the right to reject that child support. He does not have the right to enforce it. In fact, it makes him a bad father if you really want to go there. If you really want to go there, because what is a father supposed to do? A father is supposed to protect his children, not only physically, not only emotionally, not only mentally, but financially as well. Your children are people. They have financial interests. You as a parent should be protecting your children's financial interests. How is it that someone owes your kid $100,000 and you say, oh, don't worry about it? How is it that someone owes your kid $200 a month and you say, oh, don't worry about it?
Because
what type of protector are you?
Because we feel like we're going to provide that. But I understand exactly what you're saying, though. I get it.
No. You are going to provide what you are going to provide, but there is a separate stream of income that is coming to your kids that you are rejecting, right? And so that doesn't have anything to do with what you provide, right? No, yeah. You're just saying, but you're saying how people feel. And you're exactly right. But I'm telling you, from the law side of things, guys, I have to give this speech at least twice a week. And let's be honest, guys, sometimes it's to mothers, right? Because mothers are, a lot of what I see a lot of times is mothers are like this. I don't want him to pay me anything, because if he pays me something, he's going to want to see the kids, right? So that's what they say all the time. Right. And it's, listen, and so I have to let people know that if you you really have to put, if you're going to want to be in your kid's life, then be in them and then be in their lives and protect them like you should. And fathers turn, just like Stephanie Collins said, my co-counsel, she's an attorney down there. Says her brother, the mother's never paid a dime and he doesn't care. Why? Because he feels like he can support them. And he's not wrong. He's been supporting them. But in a way, and this is not a shot at him, because he thinks he's doing the right thing. But in a way, he's actually harming his children. He doesn't see it. Just like and it's not a shot against him again, because so many men and women don't see it. But you have to be a protector of your children and enforce your children's rights. And men who, if you're not insisting on the full amount of child support, you're not doing it. You're just not doing it. All right, give me 1 second here. Who else we got? We got Michael. We got Michael Mitroke. Am I saying that right? Mitroke. I got you, lead attorney. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Sorry about butchering your name, but I thank you so much for the super chat. Who else do we got? We got my man Joe. Joe in the house. Cynthia G keeps calling him gay. I don't know who we're. Cynthia G, she's a YouTuber, right, or somebody?
Yeah,
I'm old, guys. I don't know who she's talking about.
Yeah.
I hope she's not. I don't know. All right. JT Coin Rings. Thank you, JT Coin Rings, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. What else we got? Oh, we got another intellectual in the house. Dr. Thunder. Shout out to Dr. Thunder. Thank you so much, Dr. Thunder, for the super chat. Oh, we got two cash apps. Thank you. We got Jamel Brown. Thank you, Jamel, for the cash app. Really appreciate it. And we also got Abnormal is dope. He says black men need this content. And Jamel says for the super chat, the coffee is on me, enjoying the show. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. I'll put my cash app up here. And again, y'all go subscribe to Ike's channel. Y'all go subscribe to Dr. Thunder's channel as well. And of course, y'all have already subscribed to Bernard's. But if any new people have come in, Bernard Riley has an excellent YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to that.
Yeah, I was just about to get on Gail because she's dropping everybody YouTube channel in there but mine. Come on, Gail, get on it.
Bernard's looking too. Bernard's got a head count.
Yeah, I'm looking at your names that you got in here. You got like new people in here. I don't reckon. I mean, some people came from my channel, but you got a completely different audience I'm trying to tap into here. I'm trying to steal some subs from you. Come on, right? Gail, get with it. Come on.
What your boy say? It's clout chasing. It's clout season or something, right? Tommy was on it today.
No, you're clout chasing.
No, you are crazy. No. We got Mario World. Thank you, Mario. Thank you for bombing the stream. I appreciate that. What does Mario say? Mario says, I always wanted to know, is alimony and child support a law? If so, why can't we vote to not have money involved with our personal mating and love lives? I want to start a family in the future, and these divorce rates and child support costs are terrifying me. Absolutely. Now listen, it's my view that there should be no child support. Why? That's a controversial statement. That's the general rule that I operate from. Why? Because I also operate from the perspective that there should be 50-50 custody. That should be the default. Now, some of you are gonna say, lead attorney. What if my baby's father is in the military and he's in Afghanistan? How is he supposed to get 50-50 custody? He can't unless he wants to quit. If because of your job or because of your sickness, or maybe you're in the hospital or whatever, if you can't have 50-50 custody forever, for whatever reason, then child support should kick in. But in the beginning of each case, a judge should say, okay, guys, listen, this is what's going on with these kids. It's 50-50, unless someone has good arguments as to why not. And if either one of you has arguments as to why not, if you plaintiff or if you defendant, if you mother, if you father have reasons why the other person shouldn't have 50-50 custody, fine. Guess what? I'm here all day and I'll listen to your arguments. But if I don't hear any good arguments, this is going to be 50-50. And guess what? Because it's 50-50, because Bernard has his kids and is paying the Chuck E. Cheese and the Pizza Hut and the parks and the ice creams when they're with him, and his kid's mom is paying the Chuck E. Cheese and the ice creams and the parks when the kids are with her, because each party is paying. When the kids are with them, there's no child support. None of this, oh, he makes, more money, so even though it's 50-50, he's still going to pay $150 extra a month. That's alimony. Right. So that's where Mario, I totally agree that the whole thing about the child support, the way that it's tied to visitation, it becomes a money game. And let's not even talk about alimony. Now, I will say this, Mario, if you want to start a family and you're worried about alimony, you don't have to worry about it at all. In fact, you can get married and not worry about alimony at all. This should not be a concern for you. If you find a woman that you want to marry, you should not marry her because of alimony. Alimony is easy to take care of. Anybody know? Is the young prince in the house? Does anybody know how you easily take care of alimony? Do you know, Bernard?
I'm going to assume you're going to say marry a woman and make good money. How you avoid having to pay some alimony.
That will go a long way. The problem is if you start even making better money and she quits on you. But you're exactly right. The answer that I'm looking for, guys, is a prenup. Right?
Oh yeah. See, I should have knew that one because I did some content on that one with you or about. Yeah, we went over that one. So yeah, I should have guessed that one. Shout out to Mr. Fantastic. He said, "Don't get married." But
yeah, that's another way. But listen, let's be honest, guys, and I can tell you this, having practiced 20 years, most guys are going to want to get married. All right, and this is like the drug war. If people want to use drugs, they're going to use them. You can put all the DEA and FBI, the drugs are going to be used. Period. And if men want to get married, then guess what? They're going to get married. So the way to protect them is to know the laws and then just to do a prenup. So thank you so much, Mario World. I really, really appreciate that. Really, really do. That was super generous of you. Thank you for the super chat. We got Michael again. Thank you so much. Says facts, kings and queens. Facts. Thank you. All right. Oh, and thank you, Jessica X, as well. I wanted to thank you, if you're still on. I wanted to thank you for the help that you gave me on that stream. Oh, look at the young prince knows about it. He says pre-dub. That's exactly right. I wanted to thank you, Jessica. That really helped me out. I don't really know much about this streaming, as we can see. So I appreciate that. All right. God, I hope I didn't miss any super chat. We got Colin in the house. No kids 2021 for me. Yes, that is a way to avoid child support. And guys, you cannot put child support in a prenup. In a prenup, you can't do it. So you're kind of at risk. And so Bernard's answer about marrying a woman who makes good money will help you on the child support side. If you marry that Foot Locker chick I'm in love with, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. But if you marry, if you're making $85,000 a year and she's making $85,000 a year, your child support isn't going to be too bad, unless you do a Pookie type of thing and you got 4, 5, 6 kids running around. Then you're in trouble. But if you have 1 or 2 kids and you're making $85 a year, $90 a year, and the mother's working, she's not on TANF or government aid, you're going to be okay. The child support isn't going to wreck you too much. Green Spud Trades. Thank you, Green Spud Trades, for the super chats. Says, if you get 50-50 time, what schedule do you recommend? Pros and cons: alternating weeks, 2 weeks, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 2, 5, 5. What days is best for exchange to occur? This is a great question, and really shows you the flexibility, guys, that you have in 50-50 custody arrangements. Super flexible. You can do them any way you want. And the answer to this question, of course, is that it depends on the circumstances. Some people, like Bernard, they were working third shift. Some people only work Monday through Thursday. Some people work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Guys, we got a lot of strippers here in Atlanta, right? They'll work Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and maybe Sundays, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it all depends. It all depends on what the occupations really and the life circumstances. But let's be honest, it really depends on the jobs. It also depends on how far the parents live from one another. So this is going to be very dependent on the parties, right? This is like asking someone what food do you recommend that they eat. There are a lot of choices. It just depends on your preferences, right? But Green Spud Trades this is a great comment because it underlines if you get 50-50, there's so many ways to work it out. What does he say? Alternating weekends, 2 weeks at a time, 3-4-4-3, 2-2-5-5. There's so many ways to do it. This is why judges should start off this way. They really, really should, because there's so many ways to accommodate two people's schedules. So thank you for that. Got my man Mithrin, co-counsel Mithrin. Got some attorneys in the house. What does Mithrin say? Mithrin says Texas doesn't do alimony. However, it is taken into account that during the division of community property, 60-40, 70-30, and even 90-20 splits have been known to happen in family court. Yes. I thought Texas did alimony. I thought they capped it at $3,000 though, but I'm not sure. You know it better than me. Texas is like, listen, we got too many oil men down here. You women are not. We'll divorce you in a heartbeat, but you're not taking our oil. You are not taking our oil, right? So shout out to Mithrin down there and all the oil men in Texas. They knew. They were like, you are not gonna get it. Got the La Guapa. Got Raven in the house. What does Raven say? Do children continue on getting child support after they get their first job? Yes. You can easily be a child working at McDonald's at 15, working at Chick-fil-A at 15, working at Subway, Blimpie, Burger King, and still be getting child support. Now, if you emancipate and you start working at Google because you created an app because you're some whiz, then the child support ends if you legally emancipate yourself and are legally identified as an adult. But if you just working at McDonald's, I'm JJ or whatever, then you're still going to get child support. What did you say, Bernard? I cut you off.
That was fascinating to me because I actually never thought about that, but I just had a really messed up thought go through my head that it would have to be feasibly possible that a man, if he's on some pookie status or just not making good money but got to pay child support, he could be paying child support that's going to a kid that has a job that's making more money than him. Like, that's feasibly possible. And I was just like, oh.
That is true. And in fact, in some states, I think in New York, child support goes up to 21. Child support goes up to 21. So there might be some 18, 19, 20-year-old laptop lifestyle kids that are actually making more than their father. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Got Jay Rizzle in the house. Jay Rizzle. Yeah, listen, and this is why I love these streams, guys, because we're talking about so many things. Thank you, Jay Rizzle. Jay Rizzle is always supporting your boy. He says, one thing with the no child support is one parent can play games and neglect the child, meaning that they send the child to the other parent with no clothes, looking dusty. Yes, and this happens. And sometimes it happens accidentally, right? You send your kid. Yeah, right. It does. You send your kid away with 4 pairs of pants and they come back with 3. Right. You send them away. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I know firsthand how that could happen. Where sometimes they're taking clothes from one house to another. Sometimes one parent may be tedious about making sure everything is packed, and the other parent may be like, hey, pack it yourself. And then some way, somehow, all the clothes and everything could end up rotating over to one parent's house. And then one parent is like, hey, I just got like 2 pairs of drawers and 3 socks over here for them.
Exactly.
So, I gotta either you gotta send me some of that stuff or I gotta go shop. One of the other.
That's exactly right.
That can happen by accident. That is true. Yeah. I've been through that.
It does. It happens. I've seen it all the time. It happens, and there's really no way to prevent it because, again, especially like Bernard said, if you let the kids pack their stuff, like they're just going to forget stuff. They forget stuff everywhere, school, home, everywhere, their friend's house. So that's a good point. There's really no way to prevent it. Now, the only thing is if the child starts looking, you say dusty, right? And it happens, but sometimes, you'll have stronger allegations that, mama, she's spending her money on her new man and now there's no food in the house. The refrigerator's empty. Oh, she's got a new boyfriend and our lights got cut off 3 days ago, but she told me not to tell you, Dad. right? Even though you're paying child support, they don't have lights on at the house. So that's when you have to file a modification, right? You got to let the judge know, hey, because as a man, you are not entitled to see what the child support is being spent on. It's not like a woman has to keep receipts for you. So the only way you can know is kind of just looking at your children. You know, are you eating? Right? Is everything okay? You got lights on at the house? You got water? Right? And that's the thing. If they don't have the basic necessities, then a judge is going to step in. But if it's all, you know, she keeps stealing, she keeps letting the kids, you know, steal the shoes over here or the jeans or the jackets, the judge is not going to want to waste time with that. So that's a great comment. Great comment. We got Ebony J from Detroit. What does Ebony J say? 50-50 custody during divorce. We opted out of child support. 2 sons. I knew who I married. Just because we didn't work, I knew he wouldn't leave his boys, and he has not. Yes. Shout out to Ebony J. See, this is a woman who's doing it right. This is a woman really, and it could, you know, I don't want to assume anything about Ebony J, but I would assume that there were some points where Ebony J didn't like her ex too much. Right? She didn't like him too much. And if we can be honest, there may be some times where she actually wanted to punish him. There might be some times where she really didn't like him. She wanted him to hurt a little bit. That would be natural in a breakup. People want to hurt each other in a breakup. I've seen it. I've represented them. But even though she had those feelings, what did she do? She put her kids first. She put her kids first and said, listen, even though I don't like you, I know that you are good for our kids. And so we're not going to do this child support. I'm not going to screw you on visitation, even though I can, because I'm a woman. I'm going to put my feelings aside, my feelings that may be valid. You know, we don't know what happened in their relationship. This dude could actually be an a-hole to her, but he's good with the kids. He's good with their kids. And Ebony was able to do that. And more women need to use Ebony J as an example. This is awesome. That's awesome, Ebony. Fantastic. Thank you. We got C Mingo. C Mingo in the house. Says, what about expenses like insurance, school, sports, and other enriching activities that are not included in the day? Yes, some of these expenses that you talked about, though, are actually included when you go to establish child support. When child support is actually calculated, they will include expenses that are directly related to the child. So they will include your child's medical insurance, health insurance, maybe even life insurance if you're paying that. If there are any extracurricular school activities or you know, a lot of times they'll slip those in. Private school tuition, they will definitely put those in. So any expense that's closely related to the child, that will actually be incorporated in the child support, in your child support order. So if you're paying this stuff, you will get a credit. It will not be dollar for dollar, but you will get, sometimes it won't be, sometimes it will be, but you should get a credit for that. This is a great point, Simingo, great point. And thank you for the super chat. One more, I'm sorry about this, Bernard.
Oh no,
I just don't want to miss them. You know, they get away on us. Got Yo-Yo in the house says, much love to the LA, to the lead attorney, but an extra shout out to all the moderators. Yes, they are working and I am here for all of it. Loving the content. Thank you. Keep it coming. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yo-Yo. And thank you for your generous super chat. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And yes, she's exactly right, guys. Shout out to the moderators. Oh, look who we got in the building. Look who we got in the building. O'Shea Duke Jackson in the building. O'Shea Duke Jackson over there in Poland. Shout out to O'Shea, guys. And I know I got a lot of new people on here, and you guys don't know that this man really is hugely responsible for my success. I don't want to keep telling the story and belaboring the point, but when I had, let's say, 1,000 subscribers, he had me on his show. He's a YouTuber. Y'all go check him out. He just crossed recently the 150,000 subscriber mark a couple of weeks ago. He's killing the game. He's really one of the hardest working men on YouTube, and might be the hardest working in our space. I mean, no one produces content like him. And he had no reason. He had no reason to put me on his show, especially when I had 1,000 subscribers. But he did. And guys, it took me a year to get 1,000 subscribers. And I went on his show and I got like an extra 500. And then I went on his show again and got an extra 700, extra 1,000. Guys, you have no idea And I'm just being immediate because you're not a YouTuber, probably. You have no idea what it is to work a year to get 1,000 subscribers and then get another 1,000 in the same day. I mean, it blows your mind. You can't. The feeling is undescribable. So he got me subscribers so much faster than I could have by myself, and I really appreciate him for that because he didn't have anything. He didn't have any reason to do it. But this is what he does. He gets young. Oh, I'm not young, right? Young in the sense of being a YouTuber, new YouTubers who are Black. And he puts them on his show and on his platform, and he skyrockets them up. Shout out to the Pocket Watcher. Pocket Watching with JT. He did the same thing for JT. So many people have come through O'Shea. He really is the gatekeeper in the Black community for YouTube, and he's awesome. And all of Black YouTube owes this man a humongous debt. So thank you, O'Shea. Really appreciate that for everything. We got one more. I think it's one more. Gregory Payton. In LA, you can file a motion to request accounting. Interesting. So Gregory is saying, listen, in LA, you could say, hey, where is the child support going, by the way? I did not know that. That's interesting. Shout out to Gregory for dropping knowledge in the chat. I did not know that. I'm going to have to look that up because in most jurisdictions in the nation, there's no way to find out. So awesome for in Los Angeles. They're getting hip to the game. What does Robert Johnson say? O'Shea is a pioneer in the space. Shout out to the GOAT. Yes. Shout out to the GOAT. We got one more. I got La Guapa, Raven again. Where are you from, Raven? Raven Von Cuervo. Who else loves the Von de Bee support court where women are told they have to pay child support? I know I do. Yeah, shout out to Von de Bee, man. She was supposed to come on the show. She kind of disappeared on me. She is running for a judge. She's running for a family law judge ship out there in Texas, I believe. I think it's in Texas. She's running to be a judge. So I'm not sure if that election is taking place or not. I'm sure she's extremely busy. So shout out to Von de Bee, and hopefully she's doing really well in that election. And hopefully when it wraps up, she is declared the winner because the bar, the judiciary absolutely needs more women like her. She is the absolutely best person for the job. Oh, Louisiana, not LA. You said LA. I'm being ignorant. You said Louisiana. All right. I thought it was LA, but then I was like, that's a city, right? Or a county. So Louisiana. Sorry about that. I practice family law there. Excellent. So we got another co-counsel. We're gonna stack this thing up with attorneys, guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna get y'all some help. Okay, so Bernard, sorry about that. All right, so
yeah, we were doing an interview. Were we? No, I know how it go on a good day. Sometimes you get interrupted with the super chats. Those are excellent interruptions. So
yes, because you miss them.
I'm all for it.
So I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Give it 1 second.
Shout out to everybody.
Thank you guys for supporting me and supporting Bernard too, because I know you guys are checking out his channel and subscribing. So thank you so much. All right, so you hire your first attorney and you're in court and you've got this evidence. This is a male attorney, right? And what are some things that you kind of learned about that process, some things that you didn't really know in terms of dealing with an attorney for the first time fighting for custody? What did you think about that experience?
The first experience with the first attorney, everything was going well at first. Everything was going fine. He seemed to be fighting for me. Now there was a situation towards the end where he kind of quit fighting for me, but there was I'll just say it like this: you never want to be going through a divorce and get laid off from a job at the same time.
Let me stop you right there. I feel like every sentence you say, I can just unpack it because everything that you say is so filled with wisdom. It's filled with experience.
Yeah.
Guys, listen, divorces can be extremely expensive. Let me tell you something about attorneys. Are you listening? Can you hear me better if I talk like this? Listen, attorneys are just like people, man. We got mortgages, we got this and we got that going on. We got bills coming to the house. All right. And attorneys do not work for free. Are there pro bono attorneys? Yes. If you're a man, you probably won't have one. All right. So let's get that straight right now. Here's the second thing. Someone in the chat says, oh, well, most men don't want custody of their kids. It's not true. But you might assume that because most men don't fight for custody of their kids. Why is that? Because it's a losing fight. Number one, you can easily pay $25,000, $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 to fight for custody, and you can lose. Guess what, guys? When you pay your attorney that $75,000 and you lose, you don't get a refund. You don't get a refund. You get we really gave it a good shot. Have a nice day. That's all you get. So a lot of guys are like, why am I even going to risk? I can't risk losing $75,000. Right. And what Bernard is saying is it's even more extended as you can actually be in a case. Your attorney's sending you bills, $3,000 bills every month, and you lose your job. Guess what? Or it could have been that you thought you had enough savings, but the legal expenses were much more than you contemplated. Guys, if your attorney's charging you $300 an hour, $400 an hour, $500 an hour, you have no idea how fast that adds up. You know in your head that $400 sounds like a lot of money. You have no idea how fast that gets eaten up. You have no idea. I can eat up $7,000 in a day. In one day. All right. So it's so easy. You might have budgeted $30,000 for your divorce. And then we get 7 months in, 8 months in, 9 months in, and you run out of savings. So what are you going to say? Hey, lead attorney, guess what, man? Guess what? Check it out. I ran out of money, but I need you to finish up my case. And I say, well, there's 5 more months left. Yeah. Can you finish it up for me? What are you talking about? I got other people that are trying to pay me, but I'm not working on their case to work on your case. And you're just not going to pay me for 5 months. Yeah. Hook a brother up. An attorney will get out of your case. And sometimes attorneys will want to be nice and kind of comes back to bite you. They'll want to be nice and they'll say in their head, okay, listen, I don't want to leave Bernard in a wrong place, in a bad place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rush a settlement so that it's over. I'm just going to rush a quick settlement so that it's over. That way it's wrapped up. I don't have to withdraw. Bernard doesn't have to start this whole case again with a new attorney. So I'm kind of doing him a favor. But from Bernard's aspect, he's got to live with this rushed in settlement that you're making. So it's really not a favor, right? So so you got laid off and you ran into money problems. Talk to us a little bit about that. How did that affect your relationship with your attorney?
Well, everything was fine at first. The way that the payment was set up, there was an initial down payment. And he was okay with me making payments going forward. Mm-hmm. By the time that we had our last would have been our last meeting in the courtroom, I hadn't finished paying him. I got laid off, so I was getting an unemployment check. And keep in mind, child support coming out of an unemployment check. And also keep in mind that the kids were still with me the majority of the time. So I'm paying child support twice because I'm paying to support them when they're with me. And I'm paying out money to somewhere where they're not the majority of the time. And I'm trying to pay a lawyer. It was impossible. So
some women are going to be like, well, you should have budgeted better.
but this is where I had a chance, though. Where this was the fighting chance, because we had to meet before we had to go to that final court appearance. We did have to meet in front of the arbitrator again. And I think they do it different from state to state. In some states, she actually comes out to your house and interviews you. In my state, I live in Michigan, they come, or we go into the courthouse. I'm sitting here, ex-wife sitting here, she's sitting in front of us, and she's asking us a bunch of questions. And the questions are centered around, and I'm going to get back to the lawyer aspect of it, because I want to this is important because it'll explain the lawyer's thought process. Yeah, when she asks us those questions, it's like 9 different categories that basically they're just trying to assess and figure out which parent is better for the children. Now, while we're talking to the arbitrator, it's completely subjective. Yes. It's completely based off, if she has an ideology similar to, let's just say, a lot of modern women, she's going to hear what the woman is saying, and she's saying it emotionally, sometimes even with tears, engineered tears that she conjured up, that she built up to. I could be saying straight facts and have some evidence for it. She has to give a recommendation to the judge. So when she wrote out that recommendation to the judge in the 9 different categories, she cited in favor of my ex-wife. Now, what normally would happen, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, when those categories are just so, let's just say she won 6 of the categories and I won 3. Well, you as a lawyer can go in that courtroom and try to, win 2 of those back or so, and then possibly or possibly just end up, with the tie or the win and fight for the guy to get 50-50 custody. That's where it goes back to I was laid off, I was paying child support, had the kids more than the person that I was paying the child support to, which means I was paying it twice, which means that lawyer was not motivated to fight because he was thinking if he fights, we're going to have to come back to court a bunch of more times.
Yes.
He's going to have to charge me a lot more money. And I currently hadn't finished paying all of the current money that I owed him. Now I was making payments, but they weren't coming fast enough, quick enough, or wasn't quite big enough. So that goes back to what you said, how he was extremely motivated to settle. So he just completely bent over.
Yes.
Her lawyer and my lawyer, they would meet together. Her lawyer would say, we want this, that, this, and this other thing. And then he would come back to talk to me and say, okay, this is what me and this is what me and her lawyer came up with. We want you to just bend over and take it. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, come on. We got evidence for this. I remember I've been collecting all this evidence. I got all the pictures with the date camera and everything and all of that. And to him, that meant coming back to court 2 or 3 more times. He wasn't trying to do it. So it was a situation where he convinced me that the categories that she won on, he was saying I can't undo that because it was a 1 to 8 or 2 to 7 landslide victory, and he was like, I can't undo that, even though it was a case where it could have been done because the number one refuter to whatever all the lies, I'm trying to be nice, all the lies she said about me, I think they could easily be refuted by the simple fact that I could prove that the kids were with me more than they were with her. But he wasn't trying to fight. So that court date that ended, and that goes back to when I said I had to just go in the hole for a while, continue paying. I got back on my feet, got a job, so I just continued paying child support for kids that I had more than the person I was paying child support to. Then I just and one thing I always forget to say, there was a factor in the equation too, because you had mentioned about the shift that I was working, or when you're on a different shift, it can affect things. I was going back and forth between third shift and second shift, and so that was a factor in the equation. Oh, you got to be on first shift. Well, I don't quite got enough seniority to get on first shift. We don't care. So I was thinking, okay, I got this jet because it was later. This was later in the process when I got another lawyer. So I'm kind of skipping ahead. It's so much stuff to happen, but it didn't work out with that particular lawyer. I basically just took the L right there, and then I started over fighting with a different lawyer, and then she told me that you got to get on first shift if you want us to have a fighting chance. So then I was in a dilemma of, okay, do I quit this good job that I got now that I need and take another job where I can get first shift and possibly make less money? So that caused me to have to go in the hole for longer, but that was good because I was able to collect more evidence. That's how I was able to show up, 2 years later with an orgy of irrefutable evidence that they could say nothing about. That coupled with the fact that, how I mentioned how I was being real nice and naive and everything, and I wasn't really going for blood. I didn't want to say nothing bad about her, even though I knew it was a lot of bad stuff I could say about her.
Yes.
And you talk about how nice men are in that courtroom.
Yes.
Well, that changed. That third time around, I went for blood. Yes. I came out all guns blazing. She was just shocked. She didn't, because she knew she knows that she married just somebody who's just genuinely a nice person at heart. I felt horrible while doing it because this is the mother of my children. I felt horrible saying terrible things about her in front of people. I didn't want to do it. Eventually I got ice water in my veins about it. I don't care now, but
Yes.
I had to get cutthroat. And cutthroat to the point to where there was some, and I tread carefully on this because this is a public platform.
Right.
There was some things. Let me just. I'll say this is how I figured out how I have to word it. After it all was said and done, she was ordered to have to go to anger management. So use your imagination.
Absolutely.
And I got some. There were some things that I got on tape that I got recorded. There were some times when I would, ask the kids some questions and would be recording it while they're answering the questions. I came with everything. I came with so much evidence to where I was able to show for 2 years. I had them 77% of the time. I had them better than 51% of the overnights. And I was able to show some dysfunction that I was able to show I was able to show and present some stuff that led them to say she needs to go get anger management. Some stuff that was pretty bad that I would have been probably reduced down to supervised visits if it was the other way around.
Oh my
But
God, yes.
even with going in there with all that evidence and everything that I had lined up, where I calculated everything. I put it in a spreadsheet. I put it in the Excel.
Wow.
I had it. I had it. The Excel spreadsheet matched to everything I wrote into the calendars for 2 years, and everything on the Excel on the calendars matched with the pictures that I took with the date camera, with the month, date, time, and year in the lower right hand corner of the picture for 2 years. I had that airtight of a case, plus with some evidence that led her to have to go to anger management. Even with that ironclad steel wall juggernaut of a case, you want to know what I got? 50-50. I had to do all of that just to get equality.
Guys, when Bernard says this, I feel it. I know you guys, you kind of hear it. You hear it about 20%. Like Bernard was there. He feels it 100%. But I hear it, believe me, I'm like 95% there. Because if you as a man have to take anger management classes, it's a wrap for you, buddy. Like 50%, you better hope for the standard possession, the standard visitation, the little Friday to Sunday. Like there were things going on in that house. There was things going on that she was doing that required a judge to order her to take anger management classes. And yet the fall from grace from her was just to land on the 50-50. That's how much women are elevated in this system. That's how much, it's crazy. It is crazy. And I want to do this, because I want to be respectful of Bernard's time. So I told him before the show, Bernard, you can stay on as long as you want. Sometimes we'll be on here for a while, but if Bernard needs to duck out, I totally agree. He's been super respectful, and I'm not rushing him off.
I can stick around for a little bit. I can stick around for a little bit longer.
Perfect. I'm not rushing him off, but anytime, Bernard, if you need to dip out, you just let me know. Thank you so much for giving us all of this story so far. And believe me and you could actually, if we had the time, we could do a 5-hour stream together, because there's so much information that you have. There's so much information that you have that I can get out. But I also see some people here and backstage. I see Patrice, so we're going to bring her up. See Carrie, Kev, Greg P. Guys, if you have experiences, if you have questions, if you have ideas about this system and the flaws in it, please come up on the panel, and you can always ask. Got Mr. Fantastic. Shout out to Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic says, and this is why you represent yourself. With all due respect to the host, your best interest will never change with your ability to pay. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that. And I think, let me ask you this, Bernard, because you did so much of the footwork. You did so much of the footwork in making your case. Do you think you would have been able to get 50-50 custody without that last attorney, without an attorney?
Well, Me and Fantastic have had this discussion, and we've kind of debated back and forth a little bit on this because Mr. Fantastic is somebody who he went in there and he won. So, and shout out to Ramil Amir, another person who Ramil, while he's on his streams, he'll pull out his legal books and open them up like Ramil knows that law. There are some people who are smart enough to study and go in there and hold their own against a lawyer. Me personally, I don't recommend it because when I tried, even though I was right, the lawyer got me on a technicality. So that's why I don't like to do it. Now you may be in a situation. Let's just say if you just broke, you ain't got it, but you can get your hands on a law book, and you just want to dig in there, and that's the only chance you got. I'm not going to tell somebody don't do it, but I know I failed when I tried to do it. Mr. Fantastic succeeded when he tried to do it. So to answer your question, do I think I would have been okay if I would have tried to do the whole thing without a lawyer?
Let me ask you this way. Do you think your chances would have been reduced? Not if you would have been okay or not, but would your possibilities to get what you got, would they have been reduced if you tried to do it by yourself?
I believe they would have been reduced.
Yeah.
I do.
I believe the same thing, and not even knowing anything about your case. I see what Mr. Fantastic is doing. I think Mr. Fantastic is making a mistake. This is what you hear a lot of times when you talk about anecdotal evidence, right? The fact that I did something means that you can do it. To me, this is like Mr. Fantastic saying, "Hey guys, I won the lottery, and the first, I had to pick 6 numbers. The first number that I picked was 2. So if you guys when you pick your 6 numbers, make the first number 2. That's all you got to do."
Well, let me try to explain it like this. You're a lawyer, and so that means you passed the bar. Now, there are some people, they will go through law school. They will take all the tests. They will pass all the tests. They will finish law school. They can't pass the bar. But I'm sure you know of stories of somebody who kind of finagled the system, at least I've heard of somebody who didn't go to law school, but they studied and passed the bar. Have you ever heard of something like that? Somebody who was able to just pass the bar without actually even going to law school? Have you ever heard of anything like that? I heard of a story like that.
I think they used to do that in the 50s and the 60s. You didn't have to go to law school because it was expensive and people were poor. So you could intern with an attorney for a few years, and then you could take the bar based on what you learned at that attorney's office. But now they don't really let you do that.
The point that I'm trying to make here is there are some people who are so thorough to where they can look at their situation, they could read everything and every detail and every nick, every cranny, and they probably can go in there and have everything lined up just right and can pull it off. I say most people can't do that. Most people can't.
I want to rephrase it though. I see where you're coming from, but I want to look at your experience, Bernard. Look how many moving factors there were in your case. All right, there was your opposing attorney, there was the opposing counsel, there was your wife. You had actual facts to your case. All right, so there were facts to your case. There was the opposing attorney. There was the arbitrator. Right, there was the judge. There were so many things going on. Now, for all of these things that you had going on, Mr. Fantastic also had things going on in his case. And he won in that one particular instance. And maybe there are other people, a few more people that have particular incidents. But that's like winning the lottery. Guys, there are going to be people who win the Fantasy 5. They're going to pick particular numbers and they're going to win. There are going to be people who win the Mega Millions, guys. They're going to pick particular numbers and they're going to win. Does that mean that you should go out and play the Fantasy 5 or the Mega Millions? Right? When people say like Mr. Fantastic, just represent yourself because I did it with my particular circumstances. That's just like someone telling me, hey, just play the lottery because I won with my particular numbers. It doesn't really, you can talk about smarts and intelligence, but that's a small part to it. The part to it is the facts. I can give you facts, Bernard, that if Mr. Fantastic had those facts, he would never win. What if Mr. Fantastic had a domestic violence order against him? and was using drugs, would he have won? Like, you can't convince me. No matter how smart you are, you could be Einstein, guys. If you run up against an old school judge and there are kids involved, and you've been charged with beating your wife or beating your kids, you're not going to win. It doesn't have anything to do with your intelligence, or a very small part. So it's so fact-based. It's so fact-based that I really push against what Mr. Fantastic says. I respect him because he fought and he won. And I respect anyone who wins the lottery. Like, you played, you put your money on the line, you risked it, knowing that you probably weren't going to win, and you won. Respect. But there's a difference between you winning and then going out and tell everybody to play the lottery. There's a difference between you winning your particular case and telling everybody not to get an attorney. Right? This is what Kevin Samuels talks about when he talks about anecdotal evidence and this and that. This is the definition of the anecdotal evidence. It's what happened to me, and then the guy that I know at the gym, and then my uncle. We all won. All right, so now no one should get an attorney? Because this is what he says. He says, and this is why you should represent yourself. So, and I'm saying this is not a shot at him, but this is to protect my people in the chat, man. You know, this is not great information. Can you win the lottery? Yes. You could absolutely win the Mega Millions. Somebody in this chat, if you win the Mega Millions, by the way, break your boy off something, okay? If I inspired you to play, right? No, it's a joke, but you can. Why can't you win custody if you can win the lottery? But what you need to do is increase your chances. And you heard Bernard say it. Without an attorney, Bernard's not saying he would have lost, but he's saying that his probability would have been reduced. And I think that's exactly right. So sorry to cut you off there, Bernard, but I really wanted to make that point. I really want misinformation to be cleared up. And thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fantastic, for the super chat. And again, that's not a shot at you. And I respect your opinion. And you did win. So you are one of the very few. And congratulations to you. It's extremely difficult to do what you did. And I don't want to minimize that at all. I want to recognize that. I know you worked hard to get it.
I think it's worth pointing out that I think he was fighting to reduce the amount of child support that he was paying, and he can correct me. I apologize if I'm getting your story wrong, but I think what he was fighting for was different. I think the amount that he had to pay, it was too much. So he was fighting to get it to reduce down to at a fair point where it should be. Perhaps that's an easier fight than fighting for 50-50 custody. That could be a factor in the equation too, but I'm not 100% sure. He can correct me if I'm wrong. And again, I hate when I tell somebody else's story and I botch it. So I apologize in advance if I got the story incorrectly there, Mr. Fantastic.
No, you're exactly right. You sound like an attorney. Like, getting your child support modified and getting custody of your kids, those are two different universes. One is like playing what's a lottery that has three numbers, right? The daily three or something like that.
I don't play the lottery.
One is like a lottery with three numbers, and one is like a lottery with 7 numbers and a Powerball. All right, which one is going to be easier to win? You know, 667 and you win. Okay, but you got to pick 6 numbers and a Powerball. That's the custody right there. But hey, listen, even picking those 3 numbers, it's huge as a civilian, right? We call them pro se, pro se person, a person who's unrepresented. So the fact that he was able to do that into that court system, which is a completely foreign thing, nothing is intuitive about it, and he was able to go in there and win and do that without an attorney. That's excellent. So shout out again to Mr. Fantastic. Shout out to Mr. Fantastic. Okay, we got is that Hernandez? Is that Hispanic? I don't know how to say that.
Hernandez.
Hernandez.
No, you got it's Hernandez. You got to
Hernandez.
Hernandez.
I like that. I've never heard of that. Hernandez. I like that. He says, I was threatened with a court order to a 1-year-old child that I'm just finding out about. Yes. Oh. The guy she thought was the dad turned out he wasn't. She's not wasting no time to put me on it since she can't put him. Yes. Women will find somebody's going to pay for this kid. You know, if it's not you, it's him. And if it's not him, it's the other him. And if it's not the other him, it's the government. Somebody's going to pay. Somebody's going to pay.
Hernandez, answer in the chat. Did you get a DNA test?
Oh, that's huge. That's huge.
I want to know that one. I do
DNA test.
That one.
Listen, Bernard is out here dropping knowledge. That is the very first step. DNA test. Exactly right. He's exactly right about that. So shout out to Bernard for calling that one, because
And
that is the
I saw a couple of people asked about my pimp cup.
I like that.
It's
Got
the,
that goblet on there.
yeah, they asked me where did I get it from. I went into the on the last crusade and went to into the Temple of Doom with with Indiana Jones, and yeah, this was one of the artifacts they had in there. I got it out, cleaned it up, and brought it here. And yeah, I drink. I take a shot out of it here and there.
That's what I'm talking about. Shout out to Syracuse Mayhem. She was on the show last time. She confused some people, it's true, but something she said to me that I thought was interesting. I never heard a woman say that. She said she was really big into battle rap.
Uh-oh.
And something, you know, I like that old school battle rap too. So I wanted to ask her some questions about it, but I didn't want to derail the whole thing. What is Steve? I want to make a whole video on what Stephen Penn just said. Stephen said, it seems you can't win with an attorney if you're a father. This is deep. This is deep because, I mean, you can absolutely hire a great attorney and lose. You can absolutely pay $107,000 for your divorce case and lose. Like, you can absolutely do it. Guys, it's kind of like a war. I'm not sure if you guys play any Call of Duty or something like that. I mean, you can go, if you can play Call of Duty and unarmed, and you're going to lose, you're going to get killed. And you can run around with a knife. Just because you have a knife, it's better than being unarmed. And you might get some kills, but you know, you can die. And it could be the case, guys, that you have that AK-47 or you have that M1 or you have the most powerful gun in the game. And on the battlefield, guess what? You still die, right? Even though it took you so long and all these prestiges to unlock the best gun in the game, you went through all that hassle to unlock this and unlock that, unlock the weapons and the all this, and you got the best weapon in the game. And 5 minutes into the war, you get shot and you're gone. And that's how it is with an attorney. If you go into court with not even a knife, well, good luck to you. Good luck to you. But it could be that you spend $117,000 and get the best attorney in your city, and guess what? You still die. Having said that, if you're going to be on the battlefield, would you want that knife or would you want the AK-47? Give me the AK-47, because that's why I cleared up that question that I asked about you, Bernard. I said, did it lower your probabilities? It's all about probabilities.
Right.
And you said, yes, going in without an attorney would have lowered my probabilities. We're not talking about winning or losing, guys. This is all about probabilities. And that's how it is on the battlefield. I suppose I'm not in the military. I'm too much of a wuss to join the military, but I play Call of Duty a lot, right? And so I know that when you're running around, it's best to be armed.
Yeah.
Can you survive, you know, a whole stage with no weapons or without firing a shot? Yeah, you can if you're lucky. But you'll be much better if you had that AK-47. You'd be much better if you had that what's another gun? And I haven't played that so long.
I haven't played I sucked at Call of Duty when I used to play. As soon as I
wasn't good either.
As soon as I would spawn or respawn, I take 5 steps and pow, shot again. I mean, like, yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah,
and you could respawn, take those 5 steps, and you could have an AK-47, but you just get clipped.
Yeah,
and that's the same thing. That's the same way it is walking into the courtroom, guys. You can walk in with a. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, let me ask you a question, and I wanted to bring you on my show to ask you about this. I interview people on my show. I'm going to put on my interview hat for a second. This is one of the questions I wanted to ask you. How many times as a lawyer, as a divorce attorney, and okay, there's sometimes where there's 2 good people that are disagreeing, and the lawyer is on one side fighting for one of them, and there's a lawyer on the other side fighting for another one. But sometimes there's actually a decent person and there's a complete and total piece of crap. And you don't exactly know right away that you're dealing with the piece of crap, but this piece of crap paid you. So you technically got to do your job and go in there and defend this piece of crap. So how does that work and play out as a lawyer where I have to do my job? They just paid me X number of dollars, but I know I'm not fighting a good fight right now. I always wanted to ask a lawyer that question, and I'm putting you on the spot with it. Have you been in that situation, and how do you morally manage that? Or do you just got to get ice water in your veins and just do your job?
Yeah, it's easier than people might think. It is actually easier than people might think. It's like guys, it's how guys think about sex, right? We compartmentalize it. So a guy can have sex with a woman that he doesn't really like, right? And a lawyer can represent someone that we really don't like. In fact, all lawyers have numerous times. If you've practiced 2 years, you've represented someone that you didn't like. Because people are just people, right? You've represented people have hired you that didn't like you. I've had racist people hire me. It's the it can get really complex. I remember I was a young attorney. This was years ago. I was a young attorney. I was representing this dude. He was a father, and they was trying to take his kid, and his kid was like 6 month old, it's a daughter. It's gonna get a little graphic, not graphic, but it's crazy. So he got a 6 month old daughter, and we were in the courtroom, and he was handcuffed because he had charges. And the facts were that he was at home, and he was a young guy, a white guy, and he told his aunt that his daughter could dance, and the aunt was like, "What do you mean she's 6 months old? She's 6 months old." And she said, "No, she can dance." And he got the daughter, right, and because he was changing the daughter, so the daughter didn't have any underwear on, and he held the daughter up like this and started blowing on her, and her legs started moving, and that is what he called dancing, right? So the aunt called the cops. Turns out that my client had also had a relationship with some other family members that was non-consensual. My client was blown in the head. He was blown, right? And that was very early on in my career when I was like, oh man, they didn't teach us about this in law school. Because let me tell you something, they don't teach you anything in law school. There is any attorneys in the chat, they can tell you they do not teach you anything about client relationships in law school. I don't know what they teach you now, right? Because I've been out of law school a long time. 20 years ago, they just taught you how to critically think, how to spot issues. That was it.
Do you turn people down even though they walking in there, they drop $5,000 on your desk, but you talk to them for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you like, you know what? I'm not touching it. Does that happen? Based off just who based off just the person that they were, like, I cannot represent this nutcase.
Oh, almost never.
Okay,
almost never.
You get that money.
Yeah. Almost never. I don't turn people down based on the person. I turn people down based on the case, and kind of getting back to what we're talking about. I turn men down all the time who come in and say, "Lead attorney, here's my checkbook. You just tell me, here's my credit card. You just tell me how much you want to run it for, but get me custody of my kids." We're in Atlanta, Georgia, buddy. Right? Maybe in Florida you got a better chance, but you're in Atlanta here. You just can't waltz in. You're not Mr. Fantastic. You can't just waltz in, and pay an amount of money and get custody of your kids. It doesn't work that way down here. And so those are the cases those are easy to turn down, because you don't want to get the reputation of lying to people. You take 30 grand from them and then they don't get custody, and you're like, "Oh, well, we gave it a good shot." Like, you tell people, listen, no matter what money you pay, it's not going to make a difference. Now you hear them out. If you tell me you want custody of your kids and your mom's and the mom is in prison for meth, all right, give me your credit card. Let's get you some custody, right? Mm-hmm. Let's get you full custody. But if she's an average mom and she's making $40,000 a year, and you're average dad and you're making $80,000 a year, and you work a little bit more than she did during the marriage, you're going to get this visitation. And then it's not like, okay, you say I'm gonna pay 30. Okay, I'll just pay you 60. I'll just pay you double. Now get me custody. It doesn't work that way, right? So those are cases that attorneys turn down all the time. But if in terms of the person, let me take that back. There are very few, about 5 cases a year. There's just 5 to 10 cases a year. 10's being generous. Probably more around 5.
I'm
There are people that are.
hoping somebody don't show up in a Klan uniform, who committed some hate crime and be like, I heard you were the best in the business, lead attorney.
I'm so glad that you mentioned this though, because I don't know how many of you guys have seen this. There is a very famous photograph. It's a very famous photograph. It's a black and white photograph that was taken in the 60s. And some of you guys have seen this. There was a man, I think he had been shot. Something was very wrong with him and he was dying. And he was on a gurney, a hospital gurney. And the photo is blurred because they were rushing him in. And the person pushing the gurney was the surgeon that was going to operate on him. The man in the gurney had a Ku Klux Klan. He had the Ku Klux Klan robe and hood on. And the surgeon that was rushing him in was a black man. Right?
Yeah.
He's a black man. So even though this man, if the situations were reversed, that surgeon might have killed that black man in the operating room on purpose. He certainly wouldn't have been rushing him into the hospital, rushing him into the operating room. But the photo is blurred because they're rushing him in, and there's like nurses on each side of the bed, and he was in the back pushing the most. Right? So this is what I'm talking about when we say compartmentalize. You know, you got the person who's laying in the gurney, but you also have your job. You got the person who's making their daughter dance, but then you also got your job. So that's how we do it. That's how attorneys do it, and that's how guys do it when it comes to sex and whether you like the girl or not. I'm sure you've had some sex, Bernard, with women that you weren't absolutely in love with. Right? How did you do it?
You come to my channel. If you listen to my channel when we get deep into the 3rd or 4th hour, yeah, we say some crazy stuff, and we try to keep it clean in the first hour or two. But by the 3rd or 4th hour, yeah, you hear some stories. So I'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
Al Boogie want to know when I start drinking water today. I'm making changes.
I hear you. All right, let's go to the chat. If people I hope I haven't missed any. I don't think I missed any super chats. Give me 1 second. Let me just let me shout out to Maurice November. Am I saying that right? Maurice November.
Yeah, that's my guy. I like him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, Maurice November. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much,
he's
Maurice.
One of
appreciate it.
He was like one of my first Patreons from a long time ago. He's been he's my longest standing Patreon, if I'm not mistaken. Either him or one other person. I forgot which one signed up first. So Maurice November, good brother right there. Good brother right there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat and for the support.
And
all right,
go ahead. Oh no, I was just because it's getting around that time where I gotta run. I gotta run.
Listen, I'm sorry. This was kind of disorganized. This does not really go the way that I wanted it to go because you got such a fantastic story and I didn't really get it out like I should have. So I'm definitely going to have to have you back because there's just so much about your story that people can learn from. And that's one of the reasons why it took so long, because every little thing that you would say would just be nuggets that I wanted to highlight.
Right.
You can just talk, and a lot of this stuff people would miss, but I want to highlight it for people.
Yeah, I would be gearing up to tell you like 3 paragraphs. I would say one sentence. You'd be like, "Oh, I got to stop you right there." You got so much you can teach just off one sentence.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. I mean, you just been through so much. So I really want to underscore all of these experiences. So everybody in the chat's like, yes, have him back. So I will definitely have to have you back, Bernard, because you just got so much. And again, this is the value, guys, that I can bring you, because you can talk to a person who's been through a situation, but you might not see all the cracks and crevices. You might not see all the tips and the tricks and the traps. And someone who's been practicing 20 years, Bernard can say one single thing. He can have, like he said, he can have 3 paragraphs lined up. He says that first sentence and I jump on it because it's something that you guys need to know. Yeah. So thank you, Bernard, for coming.
And it's worth pointing out though that I want to put some emphasis on this too. In the end, I did technically win, even because 50-50 custody is what I originally wanted from the start. Even though it was so much BS, my story is one of the few stories where the man actually, for lack of a better way to describe it, came out on top, even though it was a long uphill battle, even though the case could be made that I should have got, full
primary custody,
physical, legal, all of that. But at the end of the day, 50-50 custody there. Well, 50-50 was fair. I'll just say that 50-50 is fair, but I had to get completely just cutthroat, vicious, go for blood, treat it like we in a gladiator pit, fight to the death. I had to treat it like that just to break even, just to break even. But yeah, that's the last thing I'll leave you with, guys. Come ready, lawyer up, as the lead attorney says, lawyer up. Do your research and come ready for war. Come ready for war.
That's and thank you for ending it like that, because really that's kind of how we started it off, talking about being simps in the courtroom and simps in your relationship. Most of my clients, male clients, are simps, and I have to push that red pill down their throat, right? Because I know what you found out the hard way, that you got to come in aggressive, and most men do not want to do that for many reasons. But when you got aggressive, when you got cutthroat, that's when you started getting the results that you wanted. And so if guys could come in with that, Jocko, you guys know who Jocko is. Jocko Willix. He is a 20-year Navy SEAL veteran, the most famous Navy SEAL that we got right now. And he calls it being on the battlefield. He calls it being default aggressive. And what's that mean? It's just like 50. It's just like the way I say that 50-50 should be the default. It should be the default in every case, but you might have to change it. But you start out being 50-50 in a custody case. On the battlefield, he says he teaches his soldiers to be default aggressive. That means that if we have to pull back, fine. If we're being, we're being a little bit too hardcore, fine. But start off hardcore. Start off hardcore. Don't start off with, oh, I know she's supposed to pay me child support, but I'll let it slide. Or, oh, I know that she just wants to give me visitation, and I'll take visitation right now, but I'll get more custody later on. Not the way to do it. If you can, all right. For most cases, all right. Jocko Willick, thank you. Thank you, Moon. Yes. So, guys, if there's one thing that there are a lot of things, a lot of nuggets that we talked about today, but one of the biggest is being default aggressive when it comes to your custody case, because you as a father are on the back foot. You're in the hole. You're at a disadvantage at every step of the process. There was never a step in the process where he was at an advantage that he didn't earn. It was never. And, I don't really know your case, but it sounds to me like, if your wife had just, played it straight and kept her nose clean and not getting all these anger management classes, if she had just been a mediocre mom with, not all these dips, you still might not have prevailed. Right. She allowed you to have all that visitation where you were able to go and make all the notes in the spreadsheets. If she would have followed that court order, you would have never gotten 50-50.
Oh, yeah. No, that's 100%. 100%. Yeah. If she would have followed the order, that's the reason. That's the reason why I got it. That was an ironclad. Couldn't argue with it in the courtroom. Like, how could her lawyer argue that I should get every other weekend or even an extended weekend when I can prove that what I'm already doing is more than that? So my lawyer was able to make an easy case. We bare minimum should be going with at least what they're already doing, or 50-50. That was an easy case. So yeah.
Absolutely. So listen, thank you so much, guys. Shout out to Bernard. Again, we're not ending the stream. I've got some people in the back that we're going to bring up. Bernard has has given us 2 easy hours. We could have gone for 7 more. But we're gonna have a part 2 and maybe even a part 3. We're gonna get all of this out. I'm an attorney, guys. So attorneys are long-winded and we want to jump in all the time. But he just has so much knowledge that I want to highlight for you guys, because it is very rare to get what Bernard got. And it took him years, and there was some suffering in there. And Bernard's he's a gentleman, and he hasn't bad-mouthed the mom, and he hasn't really told you everything that's gone on. But it was tough. It was tough, and there was some rocky roads. And so, Bernard's out here with the goblet, right? And he's making you think this is so easy, but he'll be the first one to tell you that it wasn't easy, and it took a long time. And so I wanted to highlight some of this. So thank you so much for coming on, Bernard. And we're definitely going to do this again. I see people putting Bernard's channel in the chat. Hopefully, you guys everyone go and sign up. What do you call it? Subscribe.
Subscribe.
I'm new to this.
You're not that new to YouTube. You ain't that new.
A year. I've only been on a year, guys. I got a real job, guys. This is just my side gig. But so everybody go and subscribe to Bernard's channel. He is awesome. So thank you so much for your time, Bernard.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm going to bring up some people on the stream. Thank you guys so much for being patient. Bring up Patrice, bring up Carrie. Let's start with Patrice. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. You have been a soldier. You have been so patient. Thank you so much for coming
no
up.
problem. I'm working from home, so I'm listening and I'm learning, and
Awesome.
I have firsthand a story as a witness to what my son has been going through, and I just want to get your opinion on some things. My son was married to his firstborn baby's mother. My son is a father of 4, and the firstborn, he was married to her mother. They did a few years of marriage. She left when my grandbaby was 8 months old. They just could not get along, and they both had faults in the marriage. So she left Illinois. My son gave her a bunch of money, sent her on her way. They separated. But she has been making my son pay for it ever since.
Yes.
My son has always worked and had a very good job, has always paid child support. Everywhere she's moved to, and this is over a span of 13-year period, she's moved to 5 different states to avoid my son having his visitation rights. Now, mind you, my granddaughter was 8 months old when she moved. She moved from Illinois, left Illinois, moved to Minnesota. Every time my son would try to see my grandbaby, get an attorney, she moved. So she left Minnesota, moved to Iowa. Same situation. Left Iowa, moved to Nevada. So by the time she got to Nevada, I was in Nevada. So my son had to hire the attorney wherever the state was that she lived in. Right. So we got an attorney in Nevada. He finally got a court date, go to court. She didn't show up for court, but her attorney showed up. My son, I had been on my son for years because he had kept telling me, Mom, I am paying child support. I'm paying child support. Now, mind you, she's telling her mother, my son's not paying child support. Now, mind you, my mother and her mother, my son, me and her mother are best friends. So you can imagine the ruckus that caused in our friendship.
Wow.
And so we going back and forth with that. We get to court. Neither my former daughter-in-law or her mother, my best friend, show up in court, but the attorney came. So the judge is like, well, where is she? So she had filed for a divorce. My son didn't even know it, never signed anything, but I guess that's when you put something in the paper, and if they don't respond in so many days, they grant the divorce. So my son, the child support wasn't coming out of his checks, but my son was telling me faithfully he was wiring her money. Okay, she was telling her mother, my best friend, that it wasn't happening. So we get to court and find out my son got all of this Western Union stuff where he had been sending her money for years, not through his check, but just wiring it to her. And the amount that he was supposed to pay in child support, whatever it was, my son end up overpaying that by $8,000.
Oh,
So
my
he
goodness.
overpaid by $8,000. So the judge looking at all of that in the divorce that she filed, she put all kind of lies in there and everything. Now at the time, my granddaughter was probably about 5 or 6 at the time. Now, mind you, now my son hadn't seen his daughter since she was 8 months old. So the judge saw all through that, through the whole divorce out, wanted to start everything all over, told my son, because he had flown all the way from Illinois to Nevada, he was like, I'm going to throw this out. We're going to start the divorce proceedings all over again, because she got caught up in some lies in that. Come to find out, my son had the trail of where he'd been paying all the child support, $8,000. Now, she had went to the state of Nevada Family Services, had lied to them, saying my son wasn't given any money. They show up in court. The officers was there to arrest her because she was drawing welfare plus getting money from my son. They were there to arrest her. So she knew that she was in trouble already. That's why she didn't show up and sent her attorney. The lawyers went off. So he granted my son. First he asked my son, he said, I don't know why you're not going for 50-50 joint custody. And my son said, Your Honor, I travel, I honestly I can't do that. And I live in another state and she's always jumping around. I just want to be able to see my daughter. So he granted her the visitation rights and everything, and told her attorney that if my son don't see his daughter within 30 days, it was going to be a warrant out for her arrest. Now, mind you, at the time she was living in Nevada, but she don't show up in court because now she's leaving Nevada and she's moving to California. So that's why she didn't show up. She just was jumping, and she knew she was in trouble with welfare there. So now she's in California right to this day. So my son said, Ma, I cannot keep spending all of this attorney fee. He said, I got 3 other children that I have to support.
Right.
He said, it's getting too expensive. She know what she's doing. She's doing all this. So he stopped. He gave up. So she moves to California, where she's been for the last 7-8 years. And my son, again, he tries one more time. He talks to an attorney in California. The attorney looks up things in the system in California, calls my son back and tells my son that if he comes to California and try to see his daughter, he's going to be arrested, because without any incident, and I don't understand how these states just take the woman's word. She went to child support and the police station and filed an abuse case against my son, saying it is on record that my son abused my grandbaby. Now, grant you, my son hadn't seen the child since she was 8 months, and she was then 7 or 8.
Wow.
And it's on record. If he was to go 100 feet of his child, he was going to be locked up. Now, today, my granddaughter is 13 years old, and my son has not laid eyes on his child since she was 8 months old. And he still, to this day, is paying child support for a child he hasn't seen since she was 8 months.
That is ridiculous. And it's super unjust. And this is going to surprise a lot of you people. It's common. It's common. It's common for a number of reasons. Number one, like you said, there's just an imbalance in the weight that a woman's word is given versus the weight that a man's word is given, right? Especially when women start talking about abuse, right? Everyone is quick to believe them. And I have just seen it so many times that a judge will grant a temporary protective order when there's been no evidence whatsoever apart from the woman's testimony. Yep. There's no videos, there's no photos, there's no recordings, there's nothing. It's just what she said happened, a week or so ago. And because it happened a week or so ago, there are no more bruises. But this is what happened, Judge. And now you have a temporary protective order that's supposed to last a year, right? And you can't go in, can't go in 100 feet or 500 feet or something like that. And you used to see this a lot more. Now judges are kind of getting wise, and I've seen some judges deny those, but certainly back in the day, a judge, just to be safe, a judge would grant those, almost like a rubber stamp type of thing. And once those are in place, it's very difficult to do. All this jumping around from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, I don't know how they got all that worked out. But I mean, I just saw someone in the chat. Someone was like, a man. There's going to be no way for me to find it. But a man was like, he got custody of his kid, and he raised the kid up to 14, and the kid decided that kid just wanted to start living with the mom. And the father was the guy who commented. He was like, well, okay. And he, just there you go, and he didn't fight the custody change or anything like that. There are times when kids will leave you, and there are times when you'll be paying for a kid and you never even see it. There's so many cases when men have not seen their kids for 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, and they're just paying every month. They're paying for, it's just like, having a car note for a car that you just never get to drive. You're just paying the $800. Where's the car? Who knows? Right.
Right.
And you're just paying year after year after year. And it happens. It happens. And there's a problem. And these cases, we call them high conflict cases. And, you guys can tell from the videos that I do, hopefully, from hearing my voice, that I try to be fair to both men and women. But it seems to me that 99% of the high conflict cases are caused by women. And it's a vendetta is too soft of a word. I mean, they have an intent, just a passion to make the father just suffer in the legal process.
Yeah, and now my son, I'm sure in the marriage had his faults. And don't get me wrong, he's not perfect, but he's a great dad. He has 3 other kids now with his fiance now that he pays for, supports, it's in their lives 100%. But his firstborn hasn't seen her since she was 8 months old, and the mother did this. And it gets better because now he's paying child support now through his paycheck. She calls my ex daughter-in-law, calls his job a few years back and told his boss some information, lying about trying to get him fired, about, he's stealing money from the company's credit card, just lying to him. And the boss, who was a female, and I'm so glad, because she said to her, how dare you? How could you, as a woman, do that to your child's father who is paying child support to you?
Exactly.
You're trying to get him fired to take food out of your child's mouth. Do you really have that much hate in your heart where you would try to make this man lose his job? She said, don't you ever call this job again, or I'll have you up on harassment. She said, you have some nerve. That's how, and women, I used to be one of those women that used to be always on the woman's side, but I tell you.
And just to jump in, that's why I pulled this comment up. I don't know if you can see it from Mia Lopez saying, but are the fathers making any efforts to see their kids? All right, this is what you see.
Yeah. My son has been trying for 13 years to see his.
That's exactly right. Years.
She's moved to 5 different states.
Guys, let me bring this up because people don't understand it. This is a tweet that some lady just tweeted out. She says, if we're not married, it's my child, and I don't have to give my child that I carried for 9 months the last name of a man who ain't my husband. He's just the father, and there are no long ties to him. Says, even if we are married, I don't need to give my kids my husband's last name. It's 2021. You know what?
And that is a buffoon.
Well, but see, this is what we talk about when you see Mia's comment, right? It's just like, well, you know, what are the? It's this whole thing of, you know, it must be the dad's fault, right? Because you know, it must be something that the dad's not doing. It can't be the mom, right? Because
Lead attorney, if she knew that I was on your show talking about this, I probably wouldn't see my granddaughters until they were 18, until she was 18. I just recently saw her just this past March, and I hadn't seen her in 5 years. She took her to Chicago for my mother, which is her great grandmother, to see her because my mother hadn't seen her since she left at 8 months, and she's now 13. And my mother finally just saw her for the first time. And my mother couldn't call my son to let my son know she was going to be there, or she wouldn't have let my mother see it.
exactly.
That's the craziness that women do, all spite of because they mad at the man because the relationship or the marriage did not work. She uses my granddaughter as a pawn.
Yes.
And it's hurting no one but my granddaughter. But she has so much animosity towards my son that she's so blinded by that she can't see that.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's sad.
You know, and you know, this woman here, she thinks it's all good, right? Talking about her kids, but you know, because she's a woman, right? But she doesn't know that she can be like you, Miss Patrice. She can turn into a grandmother, and then her grandbabies have a mother that's just like her when she was 24 or 25.
Exactly.
Now it's not cool anymore,
Right.
right? Right.
Yep.
Now it's not cool anymore. It was cool when she was 24, but now that she's 54, right? Now that her son, who's her child, now her child's getting screwed over.
Exactly.
You know, and there's a lack of perspective, right?
Yeah, I am no longer a firm believer in, you know, it's just all the man's fault. I know for a fact that it's not, even with my own son, you know, when he and his dad didn't make it anymore, I didn't rag on my son's father to him. Why? What good would that have done? You know, it
Exactly.
doesn't do good to beat to browbeat the child, talking about how much of a lousy dad or man that his father is because it didn't work out for he and I. But if he's a good father, he's a good father. It has nothing to do with him being a good man to me.
Right.
And that's the part that women don't get.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I don't know listen, there's no fix in these high conflict cases. There's nothing you can do. I represented men in high conflict cases, and I have had women, my own clients. I've had my own clients who are high conflict cases, and there's nothing I can say to them. You know, there's nothing that can change in their head. You know, it's not only their experience that they've had with the man, but it's just something in them. It's the chemical imbalance. It's in their personality.
Oh yeah, she was diagnosed. She's diagnosed as bipolar.
Yes, yes.
So
there's
and the
nothing
thing
that
about
can
it is,
change it.
I asked my son, you know, I said, why won't you just, you know, go for it, try to get the 50-50 or even the full custody, like what that's saying. But he goes, Mom, because I don't want my daughter to think that I was a lousy man by doing that to her mother because she's doing it to me.
That's crazy. See
So he won't do it.
and that's what we were talking about before, about men being simps, about fathers being weak.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. This is what we were talking about before. Men, and I, you know, and it's not a shot at men. I'm saying this, guys, because I have personal experience. I've represented them for 20 years. All right. Men are weak. They don't come in with the right mindset. You know, it hurts their children. That's what they're not seeing. You know, anytime that your son can spend with his daughter is helping the daughter. So to the extent that he doesn't spend time with the daughter and the daughter's stuck there with that crazy mom, that's hurting your daughter. Your granddaughter should have that bond, that should have a bond with your son. But that bond is exactly.
You know, wants to. She's one of those mothers. Oh, your dad don't love you. He got another family now and more kids. You know, she's that mom, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, not to And just to be fair to your son, I mean, when you've got, just like your son said, he's got 3 other kids, he's got other responsibilities, and he's dealing with his daughter who has a mom that's moving around from state to state. There's no way he can fight for custody.
Yeah.
He just hasn't lived with the child. The child, can we be honest? The child doesn't know him.
Yeah.
Right? Can we just be really honest? So it's not like a judge in any state is going to give him custody. So
Right.
there's really no way for him to get this. It is what it is, And the good thing about it, and this is going to sound terrible, but it's the reality of the situation. The good thing about it is that he has other kids, because I've seen situations where there's just the one kid and the guy's just like, I don't even know my own kid, and they're tormented, right? There's no joy anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the sad part. I believe that because my granddaughter is asking questions now when I talk to her, and she's, I want to see my dad. How come I can't see my dad? And I know her mother is right there. She's eavesdropping on all the calls. So, she gets mad when I even bring up my son to her. So I try not to do that because she'll withhold her from me.
Yes.
And I just say, it's going to happen one day, things like that. I'm hoping when she gets 18 that, when she can make a decision for herself, that she can, get in touch with my son through me and want to have that conversation, which I got a feeling that that's what it's going to be, that my son is not going to see his child until she's 18 and just go on her own to have that conversation and to hear, his side of the story,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's so unfortunate. I snuck one time, and when she called me, and I 3-wayed and called my son, and he got to talk to her and hear her voice. The mom found out about that, and she kept my granddaughter from me for 4 years. For that.
4 years.
4 years. So all women are not good women and mothers.
That's exactly right.
And you hearing that from a woman and a mother.
I heard that. Thank you so much, Patrice, for that story, because that's a story that, a lot of men know, but a lot of women don't know. A lot of women, women don't think that way, just like the person who made this post. This Bratz 2021 down here, man. She's down here with me in the ATL. She's not thinking this far ahead.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
She's gonna learn today.
Thank you for listening. I mean,
no problem.
Like you said, though, the advice you gave, which is pretty much what I had already told my son, it's, because she jumps from state to state. If he tried to get another lawyer again and try to go towards anything, she wouldn't do anything but move. That's what she do. That's what she does best.
And he just spend all his money on attorney's fees, and again, not to be ugly, but the money that he's spending on his attorney's fees could really go to his other kids.
Exactly. Thank you so much for listening to my story.
No problem. Thank you for telling it. Thank you for sharing, because it's really going to help out the people in the chat. What we really need is just real cases from real people to let you guys know what's really going on. That's the point of my whole channel, guys, to let you know what's really going on day in and day out of these courtrooms. And I've seen it, and I've seen it for so many years. So thank you, Patrice, for coming on. Really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, let me shout out Anti-Gravity here. Thank you so much. It said, it will probably never happen, but if the guy has no rights, he should be allowed to get a paper abortion. Yes, no legal, moral, or financial responsibility. Yeah, so we've been talking about this financial abortion. Exactly right. Exactly right. All right, we got Miss Carrie B. Carrie B, can you hear me?
Hi, lead attorney. Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you doing? How are you and Abel doing?
We good. We're good. We're listening to you, enjoying the content.
Thank you so much. What do you guys think about this?
So,
you can talk about anything. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to start off by saying that I think all fathers that get into these types of situations, or are in these types of situations, I should say, they should treat this from the beginning as a business transaction when it comes to going to court for visitation. You corrected me earlier, and that's what I meant to say, a parenting plan, by the way, not a visitation.
Oh, sorry. Wait,
So,
let me stop before you get in. I was notified. I never want to miss a super chat, but I damn sure don't want to miss a super chat from the Steel Curtain. So thank you so much, Steel Curtain. Thank you. What does he say? He says there is a disconnect and complete misunderstanding of what fathers are exposed to in the family justice system. It completely disincentivizes. I know everything that I say he doesn't agree with, but everything that he says, everything that the Steel Curtain says, I agree with 100%. And especially this last part where it says it completely disincentivizes men. So many women will say, oh, well, he didn't fight for 50-50 custody, so he didn't want it. Or really they'll say, well, men don't even want custody. And you say, well, why do you say that? Oh, because they don't fight for it. Right. But this is what the Steel Curtain is talking about, is the system itself de-incentivizes men. How am I supposed to spend $25,000 on attorneys in Nevada? And now she's moved to California. But before she was in Iowa, right? And then she's in Michigan. How many attorneys in all these different states do I have to hire and still wind up with nothing? Now the judge isn't going to give me custody because she's moving around from state to state. I haven't seen the girl since she's 6 years old. I haven't seen the girl in 6 years. Is the judge really going to give me custody of a child I haven't seen in 6 years? Right? So then he gives up. He's like, oh, well, forget it. And now that he gives up, the women are like, ha ha, you didn't want to fight for custody of your kid. It's like, what are you talking about? Right? So shout out to the Steel Curtain. I apologize for missing. I never want to miss a super chat, but definitely not yours. And because you're exactly right. You are exactly right. So, and give me one more second. Carrie, I got another one here. Got Jay Rizzle. I love that name. Jay Rizzle now. So what does Jay Rizzle say? I'm curious if you would recommend the father fight for visitation in this particular case. No. This is what, and this is a great question. And this gives me I love this, guys. I love to be able to teach you what I've learned over all these years, and you don't have to pay for it. Right. And I say that, Jay Rizzle, and you always supported me, right? But you're doing it out of goodness of your heart. And it actually means even more to me. So thank you so much for that. Guys, let me tell you one of the biggest things that's going to be used against you. If you don't see your kids, if you go, 3 years without seeing your kids, 2 years, even 6 months sometimes, the judge is going to say that you've lost that bond that you have with your kid. And because you don't have a bond, an emotional connection, there's no way that you can get 50-50 custody. Unless, of course, the mom has been in some train wreck, some catastrophic car accident, unless she's on meth and she's in prison down there in South Georgia in the heat, right? Something has to be terribly wrong with her. We just heard Bernard say he was only able to get 50-50 custody after 3 years in and out of court, and the mom was doing all this crazy stuff that she had to take anger management classes, all of that, and he was allowed to get 50-50. So in the case that we have with Patrice, if this man hasn't seen his kid in 12 years, 11 years, 10 years, a decade, there's nothing to fight about. If your child doesn't know you guys, there's nothing to fight about. And if a judge can come to the conclusion that you haven't seen your children in 2 years, certainly custody is off the table. Now, visitation, in that particular case, I would say no. Because the money, and this again, it sounds ugly, but we're dealing with reality. This man is not rich. None of us are rich. He has a finite amount of money, and he has 3 other mouths to feed, plus his and maybe his a girlfriend or a wife. So that's 5 people. Now he can spend all of this money trying to chase this one daughter from state to state to state, a daughter that doesn't know him, by the way. And let's be honest, it could be a daughter that hates him, because we don't know what the mother is telling that daughter. We heard Patrice say, hey, your daddy doesn't want you, your daddy doesn't love you, your daddy doesn't fight for you, your daddy doesn't call you, your daddy doesn't see you. I have absolutely been in cases where a father is trying to fight to see a kid that doesn't love him. and is paying me real money to see a kid that doesn't even want to see him. It happens so often. It's called parental alienation, and it happens every single day. So we're going to be cold-hearted about this. And if we're just going to be logical and say, I can take the money that I've got to sustain 5 people over here, and I can use it to try to get a connection with the kid, visitation with the kid that may or may not like me. Guys, you know, we're all adults. We all have taken losses in our lives. And I would chalk this one up to a loss. But listen, he's got 5 other people to worry about over here. So, you know, no one can have everything, right? No one can have everything. So this is a great question, Jay Rizzle, and that's my unromantic answer. But that's the answer that I've seen work the best over 20 years, right? You're not going to get that answer on Oprah, but you're going to get it over here. That's how I feel about it. We got one more. Sorry about this, Carrie. We got Quinn Washington. What does Quinn say? Would a man stand a good chance if he already has the children daily for a few years from verbal agreement, then randomly the mother who has every other weekend decides to file for custody? Yes. Yes, Quinn. This is actually a great case to fight for primary custody, not full custody, because the mom's going to get some type of visitation, but primary custody. Here's the thing. You're going to have to be able to prove it. And this is what Bernard said. Bernard says, oh, you know, I wasn't getting anywhere. So what did he start doing? I don't know if it got out. Bernard he had a spreadsheet, and he would write down every single day that the kids were with him, but he would go one step extra. You know what he would do? This was back in the day. He would take a photo with the time stamps, the date and the time, every single day. Because if you don't have the evidence, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to go in there and you're going to say the kids were with me. And do you know what the mom's going to say? She's going to say, nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. And now it's your word versus her word. You're going to need proof. But if you have proof that your kids have been living with you for 2 years and have only been going with her, even if it's verbal, you have a great chance of getting primary physical custody. An excellent chance. It's really the best chance that you're going to get, aside from the fact that if she's in prison or something like that. This is the perfect case. This is the case that you want as an attorney representing a man. You want a case where you have a track record, because this is the problem. No one needs a track record for the mom. No one needs a track record to say a mom's a good mom. But in court, you need a track record to say a dad is a good dad. If you say this mom is good, everybody assumes it. But if you say this dad is good, a judge is going to say, okay, show me the proof. This dad is good. Okay, show me the track record. No one asks for track records for women, just for the men. But fine, if you've got a track record of 2 years where he's been the primary physical custodian, that's worth gold. It's worth gold. You have to be able to prove it. But if you can prove it, it's worth gold. So thank you so much, Quinn. This is an excellent question. Excellent question. And it's the best case scenario. It's the best case scenario. Got my man Technological Chaos calling from abroad. Technological Chaos. What does Technological Chaos say? And thank you so much for the super chat. Technological Chaos says, in the American landscape, from an economic view, the market tells men that women are large legal liabilities. This is not an insult. It's an observation. It's an observational reality. This is my man is intelligent. So whenever he sends me something, I mean, look at the name, Technological Chaos. Whenever he sends me something, I got to really break it down. He's exactly right. Here's the problem with men. Men see the market, but they recognize their own genes. They prioritize their own genes more than the market. And most men are blue pill. Most men have a need to form bonding relationships. Most men want children. And so the market tells them one thing, but their genetics tells them something else. Maybe their short-term thinking. We know what I mean by short-term thinking. Maybe that tells them something else. When a man's short-term thinking is aroused, the man doesn't give a damn about the market, right? Most men, certainly 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, they don't care at all. Old men like me, we care a lot. but you don't get to be an old man like me without making some mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes that you make can cost you dearly, right? So technological chaos is exactly right about the market, but the market, the signal from the market is only so strong. Men receive stronger signals from a few places that we all know about. We got Raven. Shout out to Raven, the beautiful Raven. What does Raven Von Cuervo say? Raven says, I heard of women who would purposefully not tell a man they're a father for several years just to collect back pay for a child they didn't know existed. Yeah. I mean, Raven is exactly right. The games are unending. The games are unending. What does Tira say? Men are designed to desire a woman. Facts. Let me catch that Foot Locker chick. You're exactly right. Yeah, we are designed. I am designed for that Foot Locker chick. Anti-gravity. Shout out to Anti-Gravity again. Thank you so much for the support. Says other countries have much fairer systems than the U.S. That's interesting. I'm sure that, I mean, our system is unfair. I don't know about the other systems, but this is exactly right. What does John say? John, I'll even shout this out, man. Men don't care about any of these injustices until it directly affects them. It's true. It's true. And this is what we were talking about with Patrice. What did Patrice say? Patrice say, I was like, what did this woman say? If we're not married, it's my child. And even if we are married, it's still my child. This 2021. Patrice was like, hey, man, I used to think all women were good. I used to think all women, it must have been the man's fault. I used to think all women, I used to think like this. Patrice said this is a little outrageous, but Patrice did say, she used to think that women were in the right until she had a son who got with a woman. Then she was directly affected. Now she doesn't feel that way anymore. Right? So shout out to John Doe. A lot of times we need to be directly affected by something to really get the picture. And then shout out to Dominic Morales. Shout out to Dominic. Women groups will always help women and flip the bill just because she's a woman. Very little groups to help men. So a man would have to fight forever. Facts. This is exactly right. You guys are exactly right. All right. Sorry about that, Carrie. Do you remember what you were saying? I always acknowledge the civic chat, but I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
What do you think about all this?
So first of all, I agree with what Dominic said.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't a lot of support groups for women. And if men had a little bit more support and more resources, it would make some sort of difference. But what I wanted to say was that I think that, in my opinion, if a man, separated or divorced his wife, and they couldn't get along in the relationship, they are definitely, for the most part, not going to be able to make any decisions about custody. And I think immediately after separating from the mother, they should immediately go to court. And if they can't get a 50-50 custody, definitely go in there with a family plan. You can Google like visitation plans. They have like plans where it's like even and odd schedules. So the mother will get the holidays, because that's a big one. That's one that they argue a lot.
Yes, you sound like an attorney. You're exactly right. Yes.
Go and find yourself a sample of a schedule, Google it, and you'll get a sample schedule where let's say the mom gets the holidays for even years and the father gets it for odd years, or vice versa. And you can choose whatever holiday, depending on your religion, whatever it is, and go in there with a plan and show the judge that this is in the best interest of your child. You can't go in there like all emotional and how it affects you. You got to go in and ask what you want for with the best interest of the child.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and don't start like saying, oh, but she's the mother of my child. No, go into it as a business agreement. Like you guys are business partners. Don't I wouldn't suggest, in my opinion, if things are, bad, I wouldn't do no pickups and drop-offs at her home. Pick a neutral location, the precinct, whatever, so that things get documented. Because if she's late, or if she tries to pull something and, the cops are there, or if she doesn't show up to show your child for the visitation, then the cop can document that she didn't show up, and then you can have your proof.
Facts.
Yes. So that's my, I think that's how it should be approached. Not like, oh, but she's the mother of my child. No. Go in there, like it's business. Don't negotiate. Just go in there like it's business. Don't try and talk on the phone. No, have everything through email, phone calls. And honestly, that just prevents, allegations. It prevents combative behaviors. It's just best that way, in my opinion.
Totally agree, Attorney Carrie. I totally agree. Totally agree. Everything you say, man, this is 100% approved by the lead attorney. Yes, when you say go in there with a plan, sometimes guys just show up in jeans. They just show up to court at 9 o'clock. Okay, I'm here. What are we doing? You've already lost.
Yep.
You just showed up in jeans. You have no idea what's going on. You already lost. Attorney Carrie, you are so right. Show up with a plan. Guys, listen to Carrie, because
it worked for me.
Okay. It did work for you. It worked really well for you. Shout out to Abel. But yeah, listen to what Yo-Yo saying. Yo-Yo saying that Carrie is spitting fire. Take notes and follow through. Yes. You guys are exactly right. So thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you for coming up. You and Abel almost never come up. I appreciate you guys. But y'all are always support me in the chat though. But anytime, please come up on the panel too. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. No problem. All right, we got co-counsel, and then we got Kev, and then I'm adding John Doe. Okay, co-counsel, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being patient back here. What do you think about all of this?
I deal with it on a day in and day out basis. I mean, first of all, kudos to you for even bringing forth this type of platform to discuss these types of things, because we see this stuff every day. Yes. And it's horrible, and you hear these stories, and it's sad that parents have to go through this, but it's kind of the unnecessary evil of what we do on a day in and day out basis, and we see it. I was listening to the story of the lady who was talking about her son, and in different states, I know, and in different jurisdictions, they handle things differently. Mm-hmm. I practice in Louisiana, and that's where my office is. When situations occur like that here, we consider that to be secret in the child. So you can a father or a payer of the child support can go in and say, hey, I want to demand that my child support be terminated if my child is being secreted. That's one thing that gets to happen here, that if you can go in and you can show, especially with all of the information that the first caller gave in regards of she hopped from this state to this state to this state, and I can't find her, I can't do this, and I can do that. Then you can go in and say, hey, I want my child support terminated based upon secret in the child, and the courts will do that here.
Interesting. And is that a permanent? Is that a suspension, or is that just a permanent termination of the child support?
So you have the option to go in and request an interim termination, and then what the court would do is they would, if you can prove the secreting, then the court will grant an interim termination, and it's a way to try to get the mother or the pair that's secreting the child back in the court. And if you could get them back in the court, you can try to address the issues of the custody and visitation at that particular point. But if they don't show up, then of course it's going to be granted because they didn't show up. But of course you've got the service issues and you've got to find them. But if in the situation that was explained before, that can happen.
That's interesting. So that almost acts like I guess what we're really talking about basically in most cases maybe a suspension of the termination, and that suspension incentivizes the mother to show up to court so they can address the underlying issue of basically what's a contempt, I would suppose, right? About the visitation being denied. Is that the right way to look at it?
Right. Well, what you wind up finding in those situations, kind of like in a divorce, what the caller was explaining is that initially when folks get divorced, those are the custody and visitation and child support are all ancillary issues to the divorce. So if you get divorced first and you don't address, and a lot of times and that's the problem, kind of going back to what you were discussing originally with the gentleman who left the chat about representing yourself. If you go in and you just file for a divorce and you don't address custody and visitation and child support there, then you've got to bring that action in a underneath the same suit, but in a separate motion. But if you've got an attorney who's aware of those things, and you can say, okay, well, we're going to bring all of these ancillary issues together, custody, visitation, and support together, then you address it there. But some folks are, strapped for cash, and they're like, I'm only going to address what I need to address. I can get in for a couple $100 and just get the divorce and be done. But then you look up and you don't have the mother or the father has custody of the child. Then you've got to go fight that, and that's kind of the trick bag that you kind of fall into. So you want to make sure that even if you were to go in with an attorney like us and say, hey, I cannot afford to pay you $3,500, $4,500, whatever it may be, to represent me, but I want you to consult me and say, hey, what do I need to do if I were to go in there on my own and try to represent myself? And if the attorney is willing to do that and say, okay, well, these are your options, then you know what you need to do. But like I said, it happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Yes, and I think that's so important, the last part that you said about not being able to afford an attorney and what are some of the alternatives, right? Because even a 1 hour consultation, guys, with an attorney is not going to get you far, but it's going to get you much further than you were before you walked in, right? If you've got a hearing coming up and you can't hire an attorney, even if you just consult with an attorney and bring all your paperwork and sit down for an hour with that attorney is going to be able to give you some valuable information that you might not have been able to find on Google, right? Also, a lot of times you can hire an attorney, maybe not for the whole case, but maybe for a mediation session, right? If an attorney represents you just for mediation or just for the mediation part, it's going to be much cheaper than representing you for the whole case, right? But you still might be able to reach an agreement. So there you have options in terms of trying to get help from an attorney. I think you, Mr. Co-Counsel GP, will probably agree with me that just going in alone is probably not the best way to do it. Or what's your opinion on that?
No, it's not. I mean, when I have pro se litigants go against me, it's almost just like it's a slam dunk, because there's so many things that they're not aware of or they're not privy to in the law. It doesn't make them any less intelligent than we are, but they just don't have the training to be able to go in and say, okay, where do I need to look this up? Am I going to find this in the civil code? Am I going to find this in the revised statutes? Am I going to find this? There's so many places that they don't know to look in order to be able to assert their rights. And I read some of the super chats and it was like, well, it's a losing situation, or where do I hire an attorney? And I tell my clients a lot of times, I say, look, my job is not to really get you a win or loss. My job is to make sure that I am protecting your due process. So if I'm able to come in and protect your rights and tell you the rights that you do have and what you should be able to do, then I've effectively done my job. And it's going to be left up to what the court has to say in the situation. But like I said, I can't speak for all jurisdictions. I don't know what other jurisdictions do, but I know here there are some safeguards against it. I mean, there's safeguards against, we just had the laws recently changed where if there's been a father, you've been in a relationship with a woman and you find out years after the fact that this isn't your child, and this woman knew that it wasn't your child, and you can go and you can sue for your child support back. I mean, those are
Interesting.
options.
Has that law
Right.
passed?
I mean,
That's a law
yes,
that's
it
passed?
did. It did. Here it did. So you have
Wow.
those options to be able to do that, because it's like I said, it's a real unfortunate situation that a lot of parents get into. So
Well, let me just
but I
emphasize
would
that,
say with
guys.
any,
I just want to emphasize that, guys. I don't know if you heard him, but he's saying that if paternity fraud becomes an issue in your case, at least in Louisiana, under certain circumstances, if you can prove that it was actually paternity fraud and she knew, or I guess had reason to know that child wasn't yours, and you paid child support, then you can actually get the child support back. So that is super progressive. Right now in Georgia, we have a proposal that's proposing 50-50 default. This is the first time, 2021, 50-50 default custody. This is the first time that this has been brought up in our legislature. So people are saying, the system isn't getting better, and it's true that the system moves very, very slowly. But in certain parts of the nation, Florida has been on this 50-50 default thing. Well, default's a strong word, but Florida's been on 50-50 for a while now, or at least trying to progress that way. And it sounds like Louisiana is pretty progressive too. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
right? Because here in our state, it essentially what the law says is that it's the legislative intent is for the children to share equal time with the parents. So there has to be a proving that it's not in the best interest of the child that the children are not able to share time with the parents.
So
So
do you see that in reality? Does
you
it
go in
play
and
out? Does it play out like that in reality, where the judges are the majority of time handing out 50-50 custody?
I see it more. Well, I'm seeing it more as the years have progressed. I see it more, but a lot of times, what I've run into is parents who are wanting to have shared custody because they've gotten into a situation where they cannot afford the child support. So,
Yeah.
I make it an issue when I take new clients in. I'm like, tell me what is your true reason for wanting shared custody. And then I start talking about, well, here, like I live in South Louisiana, so a lot of the labor here is unskilled labor, plant workers, things of that nature. So it's like, well, if you're working 65, 70, 80 hours a week, do you really have the ability
Right.
to be able to have shared custody? Or is this just something that you are doing to try to defray your ability to pay child support?
Yes. Yes. And it's absolutely an issue. It is absolutely an issue about that. So that's interesting. Thank you so much. Louisiana is super progressive. Super progressive. That is awesome. So guys, if you want more rights, move to Louisiana, I suppose. That is fantastic.
Well, there's other problems that you have to deal with, but I tell you what, it's definitely a help.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, co-counsel, for joining in and dropping this knowledge on us. Do you have a YouTube channel or anything? Anything you want to shout
No,
out?
I haven't started a YouTube. No, I haven't started a YouTube channel, but hey, I watch you thoroughly and all the time. So, maybe I can hop in from time to time and be able to throw my 2 cents in.
You are always welcome to join, co-counsel. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too. All right, let me get this a couple super chats. We got Jason Phillips in the house. Says thank you for your channel. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for your super chat and your support. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. And I think we got Dominic. Dominic again. Again, thank you. What does Dominic say? Dominic says, my ex has mental health and drug addiction issues. Rules are irrelevant. The system is completely lost when dealing with mothers and mental health. This is so true. And in fact, I wouldn't even limit it to mothers. The system is just ill-equipped to handle mental health. Our justice system, our police, our judiciary, the jails, nowhere is mental health handled adequately across the board. And when you put it into family law, you're exactly right, Dominic. It's a terribly handled situation. Are there spots where they have more court programs, more help? Yes, but generally, as a nation, we are not handling mental health at all correctly. There are a lot of people who need mental health issues that are rotting away in jails and in prisons and on the streets because the help is not readily and widely available at an appropriate price or cost. So when you say your health has mental health issues and drug addiction issues on top of that, which often go hand in hand, let's be honest, right? Because people try to self-medicate. They can't afford the Pfizer and the GlaxoSmithKline and the other drugs that these pharmacological companies want to push on us. They make weed illegal, right? Well, I guess in a lot of states that's lightening up. We're still waiting on it here in Atlanta. We're still waiting. So shout out to Dominic. I think you are exactly right. You're exactly right. All right, Trey B. Trey B, can you hear me?
I can hear you, lead attorney.
Oh, great. Thank you for your patience. What do you think about all of this, Trey B?
Well, I've been through it before, and all I can say is that I guess it was a previous caller that said you have to walk into it like it's a business deal.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree.
Okay.
I say you have to walk into it like you're going to war.
Yeah. But let's say though, a lot of people walk into business deals like they are a war. Right?
Well, yeah, true. Agreed. But you have to walk into it like you're going to war, like it's battle conflict, the whole nine. Can't take any prisoners, whatever. Right? I've been through the same thing. I got 50-50 custody, but
awesome. Shout out to you.
I guess my situation was a little different. Reason why my situation was a little different was because I had 4 attorneys.
4. You had a dream team over there.
I look, it was good enough for OJ, it was good enough for me.
There you go, right? There you go.
So I walked in with 4 attorneys, over 100 years experience. She walked in there with 1 attorney with 6 years experience.
Wow.
So I did it like I would do, my job, like I do any type of situation. I'll walk in there and I'll overload the situation.
It's the best way to do it. I was talking about the shoot 'em up game, right? Call of Duty, where you can walk in with a knife or you can walk in with the AK-47, right? And it sounds like you walked in with an AK-47 and she walked in with a knife.
Yeah, I mean, there's no substitute for brute force.
It's true.
I'll tell anybody there's 0 substitute for it. So I just say, hey, I'll just get brute force. Luckily, I was fortunate enough to get brute force of different minds or 4 different minds to go against 1 mind.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I'll say this, though. It's interesting that you can walk in with 4 attorneys and she can walk in with 1 and she can still get 50-50 custody.
Oh, it was close.
Right.
It was tight. Trust me, it was tight.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, if the situation had been reversed, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just it's interesting to me how we just have to fight. We have to fight so hard. You had to get 4 attorneys just to get 50-50 custody. Right. And that's part of this whole stream. It's just like that we start off at a disadvantage. You would think that if the battlefield was clear, in the battlefield, if the playing field was level, it was, you've got all of this experience on the one end and almost none on the other end, you would think that you would absolutely crush her.
Yeah.
But that's not the case at all. Right? Because the system isn't necessarily fair.
Right.
So
it's not balanced.
that's exactly right. So you came in with a AK-47. She came in with a knife, and when the dust cleared, it was a draw.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. Pretty much.
Yeah, and so it's like that goes to show you, guys listening, that goes to show you how unfair the system is. Unfair the system is. And if you would have walked in there with one attorney also with 6 years experience, you would have been on the visitation plan like almost all the other men.
Yeah.
So it's excellent that you had the financial resources and the capacity to go in there and fight for your rights. The rights to your children that are half yours anyway. Like the children are half yours, but you have to fight for half of their legal custody.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's just the way that the system is set up. It's archaic. It does favor the mother. It's going to favor the mother. That's just the way it is for now. And until the laws are changed, and of course the laws are pretty much slow moving, slow dragging, you're pretty much stuck. So you have to walk in there with a warfare type mindset. You have to. Look, especially like with my ex-wife, right? She saw a different side of me she's never seen before. I said, well, this is the side I operate with at work every day. So operating with it with you was kind of normal, but it was a side she never saw before.
Yes.
I mean, look, you might have to waterboard some people. Do what you got to do. I'm dead serious. A lot of people, I tell you, you might have to. I mean, look, I mean, in war, there are casualties. That's just the way it is.
That's exactly right. And it's always easy, guys, to step your foot off the gas. If you feel like it's not necessary, you can always ease up. But it's best to go in hardcore, like Trey's saying. That way, if you go in hardcore, you're prepared for anything, as opposed to going in soft, realizing that you're in trouble, and now you're scrambling. And you're all in the hole, and it's too late. So you are exactly right about that. And then if you and it's, guys, I'm not saying, listen, going in aggressive is expensive. Yeah, right? You can go in with an attorney and go in just really mild and almost spend relatively nothing. If you go in aggressive, you're going to spend more, and that's why a lot of men don't do it, because they're men. We're good about watching our wallets. Men are very good about watching our wallets. And if the attorney says, hey, we can do this or this or this, or we can just do this one thing over there. So many guys are like, okay, well, let's just do the one thing over here. And then if it's necessary later on, we'll do this stuff over here. But then when you find out that all this stuff over here is necessary, it's too late. It's too late. You're done.
It's going to cost you.
It's exactly right. And it's going to cost you more than if you had just gone in properly on the front end. So I totally agree with you, Trey. You got to go in there prepared. You got to go in there to fight. That's the same thing Kara was saying too. I mean, you're exactly right. So I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't know if that's kind of where you were at.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, it's just like I said, it was expensive, and I'm not. I have no intentions of ever doing it again.
You sound like the Steel Curtain. That is exactly right.
That I can tell you. I mean, I only got one child. I got one son. He's about to turn 15, and that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for coming up here and on the panel, because all the stuff that you're saying is exactly right. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Trey. All right, we got.
No, thank you. Time to go back to work now.
I hear you. Thank you so much. We got Tira Faison. Is it Faison or Faison? I always want to say Faison for Faison Love, the comedian. We got Tia Faison sent me the Cash App. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tia. Really appreciate it. We got my man Dominic Morales again. Again, thank you for the love, Dominic. What does Dominic say? Lead attorney and panel. This show has helped me immensely today. Thank you. Just thank you. Let's stop being lovers in the bed and enemies out of it. Yes. Let's all just try to get on the same page. So all try to get on the same page. And I appreciate you saying this because I really, I don't know if you've been following the channel. People are like, man, you are milking the hell out of this Charlemagne thing, ain't you? And I am, guys. It's been beneficial. I'll tell you this, though, like the Steel Curtain says, you can do some help. And I actually talked to one of Charlemagne the God's victims yesterday on the phone. I talked to Jessica Reed. And I would not have had the opportunity to talk to her. I actually wouldn't have even known anything about it if I hadn't gotten kind of into this celebrity space. So we can absolutely do good in the celebrity space, but I'm always going to try to bring it home to you too. And we can have live streams like this where we really talk about boots on the ground knowledge, right? So thank you for saying that, Dominic Morales. I really appreciate it. Tyra, sorry about that, Tyra. Tyra Faison. All right, is it Faison or Faison? Everybody calls that dude Faison Love, right? So thank you, Tyra. I really appreciate it. We got another one. We got Mr. Palmer. Mr. Palmer in the house. Thank you so much, Mr. Palmer. Also, guys, Mr. Palmer is another great YouTuber. I've been on his channel. We've collabed. Y'all go check out Mr. Palmer. He tells you, listen, what is he telling you? Keep them veins cold. Keep them ice cold. So shout out to Mr. Palmer. Shout out to Mr. Palmer. All right. Gabriel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I hear myself in the background. Can you cut me off?
I don't think I have echo. I just have that going through my phone. The mic's on.
Okay. I don't hear it anymore. Perfect.
All right.
Well, now I do hear it.
In order to do the mic, I have to put the mic on. I don't know another way. Maybe the camera works better. Does that work better?
Yeah, I'm still hearing myself. There's terrible background.
Is that helping?
Let's see. No, it's still terrible.
I'm not sure what to do in regards to that.
I don't know. Let's do this. Let me mute you. If anybody can tell him in the chat kind of what's going on, and then I'll why don't you log off, Gabriel? I'll go to Jay Hotep, and then I'll come right back. Okay, I'll come back to you after I talk to Jay. Carrie says if you call from your computer, it is better. Thank you. Carrie.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. All right, we got Black Rock. I like that name. Black Rock. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat, Black Rock. Black Rock says this is for the advice and coffee fund. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And I wanted, there was something in chat, but then I missed it. Okay. Jay Hotep, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm starting to hear static from. Can you guys hear that static, or is it just me? Yeah. Okay. What do you think about all this, Jay?
I actually think us men, we don't look at it from like a lot of you guys said. We don't look at it from a business standpoint. We look at it. We look at it in a sense of fairness, right? You can tell we're definitely matriarchal. And to be honest, the sober reality is, if we have to say what it is, this is a system in which we do stay under. We call it, WS, we call it white supremacy. And to be honest, she does not feel like it's your kid until we get into that courtroom. Then it's your kid. When you guys get back out, it's her kid again.
Right. When it's time to pay, it's y'all's kid. Right.
Yeah. So we, at some point in time, we got to make a decision. Do we Do we want to go through another? I think it's what 1975. I think when child support and family court really got involved in families. Am I correct on that? I think it was 1975, if I'm not mistaken. But we got as men, we got to decide. At some point in time, do everybody get the light? Do we really want to go forward with the same exact thing? Because another 50 years of this, think about that.
It's true, but I think that's kind of what we've been talking about maybe in these last 30 minutes. That things are starting to change, but they're slow. I think co-counsel GP says that in Louisiana, they have laws on the books saying that supposedly it's supposed to be 50-50. Now, it's not that way, but they say that he says that it's every year. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more.
I refuse to have it. I refuse
to
have a kid. I refuse to have it. I'm 33 now, and I just refuse to have a kid because I'm in fear of family law.
Absolutely. Listen, I am not going to blame you for that decision over here. I'm too well informed. I'm too well informed. There's no reason. I want to say that. All right. It's a personal decision whether you want to have a kid or not. But any man that says, I don't want to have a kid in this environment, any man that says, I don't want to have a kid and deal with this craziness right here.
Yeah, look at that.
This craziness. I don't want to have a kid under this regime, right? How is anybody going to criticize that decision? Right? So, if we're not married, it's my kid. And even if we are married, it's still my kid.
You're
right?
donating.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I hear you, Jay. No one, at least me, not me. I am never going to criticize your decision not to have a kid under this regime.
Yeah, and that's it's sad because the family unit to us is man, woman, child. The family to her, and I think most cases is her and her children.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's painful to even think about. But unfortunately, like a lot of people getting up here saying, "Hey, this is business," and we have to look at it as business. And I think in the future, especially Generation Z, those guys are. I don't think they're playing any game. I don't think they're gonna have a lot of kids. I think this system is gonna stop a lot of people from having kids. 51% of Black men currently don't have kids. That's not by. I don't think that's by accident. I think this design of this system is lowering our population.
Yeah, certainly the reasons that we have kids has changed over the years. In the 40s and the 50s, depending on where you were, if you were down here in Georgia in the South, you needed these kids to help farm the land, all the sharecropping and all that, right?
Yep.
And then in the 60s and 70s is when birth control really started to take off and contraceptives.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always been changing. It's always been in flux. And now, with YouTube and all this technology, people are able to see, man, these kids represent a real cost. And, maybe you have family members, Jay, or maybe I do, or other people our age or older. You and I really aren't the same age. I'm in my mid 40s, but I know there's the generation before me. It was nothing to see a Black family have 10 siblings, 11 siblings.
Right.
But you will never see that nowadays. And it's not because people are more red pill. It's just you can't afford them.
Yep, there it is.
You just can't afford them. There was a study by the USDA a couple of years ago. It said it cost on average, $230,000 to raise one kid. So how in the world are you supposed to have 11 kids? You got the Pookie and the Ray Rays, they're doing their part. Right. But they're not paying for the kids anyway, right? They're ducking child support like everybody, like they do. So
and I would with that cost right there that you just said, I would like to prevent my kid from terrorizing the neighborhoods. I would like
yes.
I would like to give this child some discipline in a good way. It doesn't always have to be this, abusing this and abusing that. I might need to just talk to the child, to get the child to understand that, hey, you have to follow rules in this house and outside of this house to prevent the person from being a future prisoner.
Yes.
And we don't even get to do that.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. No, I totally agree. Totally agree with you, Jay. And thank you so much for coming on the panel and dropping this knowledge, man, letting us know how you feel, because I think you're exactly right. We got a question.
Time, brother.
What's that? Oh, no problem. Thank you so much, Jane. Please come back anytime. Anytime. Lauren Brown says, when is the lady in the bottom right going on so I can be ready? Yes, she is going to close it out for us. We are going to get Gabriel, because Gabriel was on before. He was having connection problems. We're going to be Gabriel, and then we're going to have our girl, Syracuse Mayhem. She's going to talk, and then we're going to let my co-counsel close it out for me. Please, no one else join the panel. We've been going on for 3.5 hours, so we're doing good. I feel like this has been a good live, guys. I love doing these things. I really love you guys. You guys don't know how much more pleasurable you make this experience for me as a person, because I was not enjoying YouTube at all in the beginning, and these lives, interacting with you guys has really helped. So I really appreciate what we got going on here. All right, Gabriel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is that better?
Yes, that's a lot better. Thank you so much. I don't know what you did, but you really you fixed it up. So thank you, Gabriel.
That.
No problem. So yeah, what do you think about all this, Gabriel?
I have a lot of experience in it personally. I'm glad that you are doing this on YouTube, because there needs to be something to let a lot of brothers out there know what's going on. Now, I agree wholeheartedly and 1,000%. It's not a business. You got to look at it as straight warfare. My situation was in the state of Virginia. Now, my daughter's mom just up and left one day. And because my father had won custody of my little sister in the state of Pennsylvania, which is a Commonwealth, it behooved me watching him to learn laws of where you are. And since Virginia is also a Commonwealth, these laws run very congruent to one another. I ended up filing for full custody. My attorney told me I would never get sole custody. I would never stop her from visitation. And like people say, your woman can be a crackhead, and as soon as she takes one step to trying to do anything right, the courts is right on her side.
Yes.
I had to kick her into the dirt. I filed restraining orders against her in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. I found out when my daughter, 4 years old, she had her sleeping in bed with her boyfriend, some convicted drug dealer. Like literally, even her alone with him, he was bathing my daughter. After my first 10 thoughts of committing murder, I used my brain. Now, I won custody, but they got their pound of flesh because I couldn't follow her. I ended up putting a tracking device in my daughter's stuffed toy to prove to the court in Virginia she was taking her out of the state, because I had a restraining order against the man once I found out his history and her making threats to me. And I knew she was lying to the court. So I had to be patient. It took me a year. But the judge knew about it. The guardian ad litem knew about it. And a lot of people don't understand that. Get yourself to the court, learn the laws, find out there's a guardian ad litem. The guardian ad litem, as you know, it protects the child's rights. And this man was not my attorney, but he told me, he educated. He said, look, you're from Philly and you're from the city. This is Virginia. They go a lot slower. He told me that it would not be equal, that she was allowed to have a man, but in the eyes of the court, I could not have a girlfriend or a woman around my daughter, all this stuff. So I realized what it was. Now, in the long run, it got me sole custody. But she then ran into D.C., said I was threatening her, made up all these false charges. Of course, I got arrested. They ended up putting me in jail for 3 months on 2 misdemeanor conviction charges for stalking. Now, I read the law about stalking, and it means you have to prove 4 things. I was found not guilty of the threats. I was found not guilty of the assault. The judge didn't give a damn. She misled the jury. They came back with 2 verdicts. And my lawyer was like, you'll never get convicted because you had every right to protect your daughter. And if you do, you'll never go to jail. First time misdemeanor conviction. That judge locked my black ass up so fast it was not funny. Damn. But even still, I don't know if I was the first, but I may have been one of the first people to go to jail and still maintain sole custody of my daughter. That judge in Virginia was so hot. We found out that the boyfriend beat her up one Wednesday night in D.C. And the judge put a blow-by-blow assault in the custody order as reasons for giving me sole custody. The criminal judge in D.C. was so inherently racist, she made sure the jury cannot hear that. And I know you as an attorney, and I'm not going to try to pretend to be one, but the original judge in the case, heard everything going on. He was also the judge in the civil restraining order. So what I did, knowing how the law was, I needed an attorney for the criminal side, but the civil side, I made sure I got every shred of paperwork from the custody battle in front of that judge. So he got a whole view of it. And when the U.S. Attorney's Office realized that that judge was never going to convict me, they took the original 4 misdemeanor terroristic threat charges, expanded them to 12, including 2 misdemeanor counts for stalking. They tried to put me in jail for 10 years on nonviolent crimes to prove a point. They tried to burn me. And when I beat them anyway, they got that judge off of it. He originally ruled that I could use all the evidence from the custody battle, self-defense, defense of others. The new judge came in, reopened it, which is supposed to be called law of the case. You can't reopen it. So they violated my civil rights up and down. And I say this to say that. Know your rights. Learn your law. The best course of action is to prove the mother unfit. Don't listen to nobody. My lawyer told me I would never win. I would never do this. And I'm like, listen, I'm the smartest person in this room. You work for me. Do what I tell you to do. And I'm not trying to discredit any lawyer, but I love my daughter. And I'll be damned if I was going to let her grow up destroyed because I chose some screwed up woman to have a child with. I had to own it. That was all me. And as a man, I took responsibility. I've had my daughter for 10 years.
Wow.
My mother's not even allowed to know where we even live.
Really?
And I filed child support on it, not because I needed the money. I don't need that damn woman's money, but I knew I had to break her ability to make money, get her stuff together for protection of my daughter. I know that may sound sadistic, but that woman was a nutcase. She had 2 daughters that when I met her, she ain't had custody of either. But I ignored the warning signs because I wanted to be in love and I wanted to believe, like you said.
Yes.
The best piece of advice I got, we lived in Alexandria, Virginia, and there was a Alexandria cop who lived in our building, and he had heard everything going on. And one day he pulled me aside. He said, listen, right now you're winning. Do not do what every other man does. Because they look over across the court and see a woman they once loved, and they ease up. But when these women have you down, they will break you.
They do not ease up. That's so true.
My lawyer told me, he said, listen, because I would make excuses for her. He said, listen, you need to decide who do you love more. This grown woman who could defend herself or this little girl who can't protect herself. And when she put it in that context, that decision was easy.
Yes.
That decision was easy. Look, there's an old Chris Rock joke when he talks about O.J. Simpson. I don't agree with what he did, but I understand. If you don't want to be on that side, like I have 2 older sons, 27 and 24, and I educate them. Have conversations before you decide to sleep with this woman. Find out what's in her head. Find out about her family. Don't just make babies with just anybody because it's going to cost you. Correct. Some of these women, they weren't raised by somebody. They weren't raised. I'm 51. They weren't raised with morals. I grew up at a time where if you acted up, the neighbors could whip you behind. Mom come home, you get a second ass whipping. Dad come home, you get the real one. You be good for a year. You can't do that these days.
Correct.
But
you can't even whoop your own kids these days.
Well, you know something? Funny you mentioned that. You can. Child Protective Services got involved with her oldest daughter. And I used to be a paramedic in Philly. I worked at CHOP in the ER, so I know how DHS works. And they came in and I said, listen, this little girl has been stealing, lying, forging the mother's signatures. I expect my children. Do we have a problem? She said, nope. As long as it's on the behind. So a lot of that stuff they put out there, and you know better than everybody else, a lot of these judges are subjective. They are real people. They bring their personal beliefs into the court. The courts are not fair.
Yes.
They are not fair. So you got to come ready for bear. Don't pull no punches, don't hold nothing back. And if you can prove that woman to be unfit, do it for your child.
You're exactly
that's what
right.
needs to be done. Yeah. I mean, I've looked for a forum to kind of get this out there. People say you should write a book, but my daughter has a right to her privacy. And you know what I mean? It ain't about that. But, you know, a lot of men need to understand it can be out there. I learned that valuable lesson from my father. Don't be afraid to go to court. Like you mentioned, when I go to court, suit, tie, briefcase.
You are on it.
Fantastic.
Briefcase.
Never come in with jeans, a baseball cap, none of that, because they are judging you. They've seen 1,000 people a week. Exactly. And you got to go out there and show what you're talking about. And the best thing I had going for me, they just assumed I was some regular black dude from DC. They didn't realize I was educated.
Right.
No one did a background check. I was like, dude, I went all the way through school. Are you kidding?
That is awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah, and that's a crazy story because usually once a guy gets locked up, I mean, just any any chance of even getting 50-50 is just done, right? It's done. But they must have really agreed with you that your child's mother was she was on one. She was a whole different person, a whole different animal, really.
I mean, when the Guardian ad litem interviewed her, my daughter told him everything. And the judge was so overtly biased. She was like, even during the trial, it was a jury trial. You know, in the jury trial, the judge ain't supposed to give a darn. She just
Correct.
there to run it smooth. She was like, you poisoned your daughter's mind against her mom. And I'm sitting there listening to her like,
Jesus.
that ain't even your job.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. There's so much injustice in injustice in the system.
Yeah,
But
the
I'm
best thing
so
you can
glad
do
that
is
you
know who you lay
prevailed.
with. Yeah, the best thing you can do is pre-plan. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Don't pick a crazy woman. You know what I mean? I had to own it. I picked that crazy bro to be my daughter's mom. I can't be mad at her for that. That's on me. But
Correct.
after that, I manned up. I said, you know something? This is my child. This is my child. And a lot of people say they would go to jail and die for their child. Well, guess what? I did.
Yes,
And
that's
I don't have any
exactly
regrets
right.
about it. You know,
That is
they got
perfect.
me though. Because I mean, they're misdemeanor convictions, but it's hard to work in the field that I'm educated in. So now I had to be an entrepreneur. I had to do my own thing. But
Absolutely.
you know, it is what it is. My daughter is not going through issues and having to see therapists for the rest of her life. Nah, I put a stop to that, and I didn't have to put bullets in somebody. Because as a man, as a father, that's what you're gonna think. But that's how you
Yeah.
lose.
That's really how
That's how
you
you
lose.
lose.
You're
Yep.
exactly right. You're
In
exactly
jail
right.
for 20 years ain't gonna help nobody. It's gonna destroy your child, man.
Absolutely. As well as your life. You know, you're
Yeah.
exactly right. Oh, well, thank you so much. It's such an interesting story. I definitely think you should write a book too. That's crazy. But I mean, guys, one of the worst things you can ever do, ever do is get with a crazy woman. I mean, Warren Buffett, one of the world's most richest men, you know, he says that one of the most important decisions, if not the most important decision that you'll make, is choosing your spouse. And if you choose a crazy spouse or a crazy baby mama, I mean, you can be in a war for 18 years. It'll be your 18-year war, right? And there's nothing you can do to stop it. There's nothing you can do to get off the ride, except I guess just abandon your child. And even then, they'll try to put you in jail for child abandonment and child support and everything else.
You
So
know what I learned?
yes, sir. What's
You
that?
know what I learned? I once read a book, and this is going to sound like an odd reference, but the actor Kelsey Grammer, he wrote a book about his life called So Far,
Mm-hmm.
and in it he speaks about an addiction that a lot of men have. We have an addiction to emotionally needy women. Deep down, we want to save and rescue. We can find a woman that don't need us but just wants us. She's on top of her game. She's fine. We don't want her. We want that crazy psycho that we think we
Yeah.
can come and rescue. And that is the bane of our existence. When you see a woman like that, run. If she wants to yell and curse at you, run. If she wants to embarrass you in public, run. She is indecent. And if you have to explain what decency is to somebody, you are wasting your breath.
I hear you. I hear you. Listen, thank you so much, Gabriel. I totally agree. Totally agree. I'm sorry that you
Not a
went
problem.
through that, but I'm glad that you got the result. The end result
No,
is
I appreciate it.
fantastic.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on. I really do. I like your new channel. I'm definitely going to be a subscriber. I
Thank
got
you.
turned on when you started going with that Charlemagne stuff because I knew about Charlemagne a couple of years ago, and I can't say it on your channel. I won't say the R word, but I like the violator or cease and desist.
Cesar Charlemagne. Yeah, I actually
Because
talked to
that boy did
Jessica.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did that. He did that. That woman ain't lying. He did that. I'm sorry.
you're exactly right. I actually talked to her yesterday, and she's getting a lot of help. So, and she started a GoFundMe too. So she's right on track, and hopefully they can get him. So, thank you so much, Gabriel. Really
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem. We got Syracuse Mayhem. Can you hear me, Syracuse? Syracuse Mayhem? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey.
What do you think about all this, Syracuse?
Oh, I missed that Charlemagne, Mr. Cease and Desist. I can't believe you call that man God. I mean, you need to get slapped, popped in the back of the head for that one. Come on now. Don't do that. Don't call that man that.
Yeah, I don't know how they named that man that and been calling him that for all those years.
You called it today. Why you keep messing up? You had Mr. Cease and Desist. Call him that.
I call him some of everything. You know, I call him some of everything. He's a listen, I don't want to get into really what he is. We all know what he is. I've read his indictment. I've read his indictment on my channel a lot of times. So we all know what's going on with this man. What do you think? What do you think about all this?
Okay, I want to comment on this. You said that you can have sex with a woman you don't even like. Okay, you need Jesus. I can't even go shopping with a woman I can't like, let alone you can lay with a woman you don't like. Okay, any man that can do that, y'all need Jesus. That's just nasty, okay? Why? How can you do that? That's just nasty. A woman can't, we women, we can't do that. Ooh. So, fix
Yeah,
that.
I
Fix
hear
it.
you. Yeah, we're yeah. As men, I think you're right. I think we should definitely fix that.
Yep. Not women, we can't, if I don't like you, well, how does that work? I mean, how your penis get hard if you don't like the woman?
Let me ask you this. You said that you were big into battle rap. Who is your favorite battle rapper?
My
I like I like Daylight. Who do you like?
favorite battle rapper is Super Duper Scope, man.
All right. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much, Syracuse Mayhem. I always love to have you on the show. What's that?
Who's my favorite battle rapper? I just gave you one of his lines. He calls himself the Super Duper Scope. He mentions that in the battle rap.
What's his name?
Well, I thought you would know. But my favorite battle rapper, E Heart. She is fire. I love her, man. She's my favorite battle rapper right now.
Yeah, I don't keep up with the new stuff. I like Daylight, but and then he kind of went crazy. He started doing some antics that were a little bit off the wall.
Hands down, and Dookie during the battle. What's
Yeah,
wrong?
he was on one. He was on one. Well, listen, thank you so much, Syracuse. I'm wrapping it up, but I appreciate you coming on, and you are always welcome. Okay.
And you know what? I love when you have a live show. It was hot tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. You can always come, Syracuse. You are known. You are known here in the comments. So we always love when you come up and give us your take on things. All right. So we'll talk to you later. All right. We got co-counsel, guys. This is Stephanie Collins. Stephanie Collins. She is an attorney, a criminal defense attorney out there in Texas. Am I right? And it's in Texas, right?
You are right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. What part of Texas?
Central Texas. I go all over Central Texas, so that's like Austin, basically. I don't live in the city of Austin, but yeah, it's Travis County, which is Austin is the county seat.
Awesome. Yeah, Austin, one of the best places, one of the most famous places in Texas. Everybody's talking about moving there, especially people moving out of California. It seemed like everybody wanted to move to Austin.
Oh yeah, it's becoming the case where if you've lived here over 10 years, you're considered an old timer. It's pretty wild. Yeah,
Go ahead.
so
I'm
much
sorry.
of the city is new.
Yeah, that's actually how Atlanta is. It's very difficult to find someone who was actually born and raised here in Atlanta. There's so many people from all over.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about your population boom and the sort of political issues that are going on. There's a lot of stuff in Atlanta that is it's very interesting from a political point of view. That whole thing with what is it, Buckethead that wants to get out of Atlanta?
Yes.
I find that issue very intriguing.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's okay. So I wanted to get on for two things. I think I saw a lot of people in the chat saying, that my brother and men like my brother are simps, which I just became familiar with that word this year. I didn't ever really heard it before. I think I get where they're coming from, and I get where you're coming from too, that it's, the child's best interest to fight for the support. But, I think a lot of times, and I was kind of being tongue in cheek when I said, that he was being kind. I think a part of the issue is with men, it's especially women, like what the last caller or the caller before her was saying. I think a lot of times it's basically that you don't want any further interaction with this woman, and that the less that you have to see her, or the less motive you give her to retaliate, is that is worth its weight in gold sometimes.
Yeah, Stephanie, let me jump in right there because this is such an important point that you're making. But I actually want to I want to use it to talk to men about this, because this is this concept that you have, that you're talking about, which exists and which is absolutely true, and it's prevalent with men. About, it's kind of, I teased it, I said it's the go along to get along type of thing, right? It's not worth it. Men are always, they justify things by saying it's not worth it. And men will stay in very bad relationships because, the woman will boss them around. And, and they'll figure, oh, it's not worth it to fight back. It's not worth it to stand up for myself. So she'll tell me to go cut the grass, not go cut the grass. And then she has me up on the roof, and then she has me following around in the mall. Right. And I become a slave, because anytime I voice my opinion to try to protect my own interests, she starts nagging and, oh, guys, it's not worth it. And then they get married, and then the marriage is even worse. Right. Because now maybe they've got a kid and he wants to see the kid, or maybe that their finances are all involved, and she starts running this man's life. And the man, he wants to say something, but then he's like, oh, it's not worth it to stand up for myself. And then after the divorce, it's the same thing. I see it all the time. When women want child support from their kids, they get it. But it's like 9 out of 10 men do not press women for the child support. Now, some of this is because a lot of times, if the man has custody in the first place, that lets you know that the woman is in a bad way. It's not like, oh, there's a woman making $175,000 a year, and the man has custody. Usually that's not the case. Usually the fact that the man has custody means that there's something wrong with the mom. But having said that, a lot of times there are things wrong with the dad, but the moms go for the child support. They say it's worth it. But guys do this whole go along to get along. Our favorite line sometimes, oh, it's just not worth it. Right. Yep. And then we're passing up hundreds of thousands of dollars in child support because we think that it's not worth it. We think, oh, well, I've got a good job, I can support my kid. And then they let $90,000 that could have been used for the child's college fund. It could have been used for a child to start, seed money for a business. It could have been used for, in the stock market or something like that. They let it go away. Why? Because they say it's just not worth it. Right. And so I think I certainly wasn't trying to be disrespectful to your brother. I see this all the time. And simp is simp is a derogatory term. And so no one knows your brother, right? So no one's really calling him a simp. However, it's this type of mentality of putting other people above your own interests. Yeah. And and men do it all the time. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
They do. No, it's fine. And even if you take that to be true, and he's blue pilled, or all these interesting terms I'm learning from being on your channel. My brother was a combat Marine. Yeah, he was at the Second Battle of Fallujah. So it's, I guess, if you think that he's being weak in some way, even if you assume that to be true, I think it shows it could happen to anybody.
Yes, and not to cut you off, but there was a I want to say it was a UFC fighter, but it could have been a pro wrestler, right? WWE, where it's kind of fake. But this dude is like 300 pounds, and his job is to engage in physical combat. And his wife was like 5 foot. And they did an interview together in their home. And he was like, oh, well, she tells me basically what to do, and she tells me what to eat. And she's, this woman is 5 foot, and this dude is like 6'6" and 350 pounds. So you're exactly right. It's not about the way that the man looks. It's not even about the way that the man's occupation. It's not about his intellect. It's not about it's just a part of his character. Some men want women to tell them what to do. And some men do not want to stand up to women, and we justify it. That's exactly right.
And
or they just don't. They don't want the heat. They don't want the smoke. They don't want the nagging.
Well, and it's I think some other callers have talked about the criminal justice system or the criminal legal system. There's nothing just about it being used as a weapon to win these family law cases, and that is very unfortunate. That it's developed to the point now where the criminal system better they have this philosophy that it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to these cases. And
Exactly.
yeah, and that we need to assume that the allegations are true, because if they're not, or because if we don't, then we are not, quote unquote, solving a problem or protecting the complainant, right? And then we have these judges worried about, if I don't do something now, and there's a horrible tragedy, I'm going to be in the paper for not doing my duty to protect the community and protect this complainant. It's very out of control, and I think there's quite an industry that's been built up around um, these claims, and it is. Hang on, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
My phone's ringing. Sorry.
No, you're fine. What is that ringtone? Are you there? Hello? Oh, I guess we lost her. All right, guys. So we have been on.
Yeah, okay, I'm back. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Hello?
Okay. Sorry, I have a client.
Oh, I didn't kick her off, guys. She signed off. All right, guys, I'll just end it here. Listen, thank you so much. I love these live streams. You guys are participating and we are dropping knowledge on this thing. Shout out to Bernard Riley. I know all you guys know who he is. Go check out his channel. Shout out to Ike. Big thank you, Ike. Thank you, Mario World, for bombing super chats. Thank you everyone who supported your boy, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Certainly shout out to Steel Curtain. Certainly shout out to the Young Prince. And of course, the Queen. Shout out to Gail Lockett, the one and only, right? So thank you guys so much for this. I think we talked about a lot of things. Tomorrow I'm gonna probably hit you up with some Charlemagne related, right? Come on. But I also want to do these things too. Shout out to Abel, who was like, hey, is it just celebrity stuff now, lead attorney, or where the father right stuff at, right? I had you, Abel, right? I'm not forgetting my roots, guys. We're gonna talk about a lot. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Also, if you guys want to suggest things, someone suggested something about a safari and a Mena. Somebody, apparently they're married or something like that. So I'll probably look into that because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll look into that and do a video on that. Also, if you guys want any other videos, celebrity videos, or my take on things, apparently the safari guy and the Mena, whatever her name is, they're getting divorced here in Atlanta. So I'll let you guys know what's going on with that. And if anybody has any other suggestions, please let me know. I'm looking for content, right? I'm gonna milk this Charlemagne thing until it's done. But at some point, we got to move on. So again, thank you guys for just supporting your boy and showing up. And I love all the conversations. I love the chat. And we're talking about real things. So really appreciate everything, guys. All right. So even though we're talking about laws and things like this, of course, none of this has been legal advice. I'm not your attorney. I am the lead attorney, and I'm here to help.